Well, I was working last stream on the fruit scene, and I said that it'd be done. I was being a bit over ambitious there. I could have done it last night, but I would have been up till I would have been up till like 4 a.m. if I did try and finish it. I'm very close to getting it done now, and I'm pretty confident that by Friday stream I'll be able to pop it in here for you guys to see. We've already got the Carol flashback one in, so yes, that'll be really good, because that scene, once we've done that scene, there's only a little short scene then after the boss battle, and we got a bit of lag, I think. I don't know why we get that, but right now. Okay, so we've only got one more short scene after the boss battle then, and then we can do the next story so far video then, which will be fun. Okay, and hi Nungi, how you doing? It's good to see you. Sandwiches, I know, right? It's a good word. So today, I don't have a cutscene to show you yet, but Friday, that's the goal. But now, what we can do today, I have put it in the live announcements what we'll be doing, so. And hi Raidu, how you doing? It's good to see you. Oh, I don't know if you're listening right this second, Raidu. If you are, I noticed something small. No worries, it's to do with Nikki's character. I noticed she has human ears, even though she's a fairy. Now, if she's half human and half fairy, that's okay. She could have, like, had the human ears from the one parent. But if she is a full fairy, she'll need to have fairy ears. But no worries, I can do that myself. Like, it's a very easy job to just overlay some fairy ears over the sprites. But it all depends. If you purposely had it designed like that because you wanted to be half human, half fairy, then yeah, we could totally go for that. I'm all right with having like a sort of sub races in between, if that is part of your character's arc. But let me know. I mean, you might not be listening right now. You might have gone off to look, but I'll talk to you at some point about it anyway. Hello, hi. How are you doing, crazy? My gosh, your name. What's all this? We are making an RPG here. How are you doing? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're having a good day. What about my name? It's a very, very, well. Well, I think it speaks for itself. Welcome. So many figures on the screen. Don't you worry though, we have a guy called Dick coming our stream as well, and he's a lovely dude, even though he's called Dick. So I don't judge people by their names, I judge them by their behaviour. Well, of course, unless you come in with a racist name or something, then that wouldn't be allowed. Sure, I'll ask Nikki to see what she wants to do. She's at work until 7 today. Oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah, just let me know. Like, if just let me know what she's up for, because I assume the human ears were because you liked the human ears. But fairies, full fairy. If you want to be a full fairy race, we want to have the fairy ears, really. But yes, basically, if you kind of want to be half human, half fairy, then it would make sense why she'd have human ears then. So just let me know, Raido. Did you get my email about the skill icons, by the way? I did. I'm going to respond to it at some point, but because I'm not even sure myself, Raido, right now about what skills we need, because it's very, pretty far in the future stuff, so it's not really priority right now, but I'll get back to you and sort something out there. And don't know if I'm crazy. I love Mario 64. Well, I'll call you crazy anyway, or I could call you Mario if that's better, if you prefer that. And just bought Envy and all the extras. Any tips for starting? Hi Big, how you doing? Any tips for starting? I say just have a little go. Just go right into it. That's what I did. I just started making a map. Lakefall was the first map I made, and then it all went from there. So yeah, just take it one step at a time. It's good to take small steps. But GG, that's awesome to hear, Big, that you've bought MV. And feel free to show us your stuff in the Create Work channel if you get around to doing something. Well, Rosa once drew, and interesting map outlines for things like this can happen. And I've been playing Dragon Ball D&D. Dragon Ball D&D? There's a Dragon Ball version of D&D? That's interesting. And I just wanted to make sure that you got the email. No rush on the email, just respond when you get close to awesome radio. Okay, I think it'll be a good idea for sure to have some icons in mind that we need. So I'll have a little look, and honestly, it's super generous of you that you'll get some icons done if you was up for that. Super appreciated. And I'm in the middle of learning basic stuff on Unity and C#. Oh, that's really fancy. Definitely stuff that's above my level, but good job for taking that on. Because it's not easy, I assume. It takes some learning. Zelda, One Piece, Dragon Ball, Toriko, and more. That's awesome. It's good to hear that you like D&D. I like D&D too. I'm a bit of a very newcomer at it, but I am playing a campaign at the moment, the normal D&D, the 5e version. And our project, in a way, takes a bit of inspiration from tabletop sometimes, to be honest. I was thinking, funnily enough, looking at a few D&D like items today, like for ideas, because we're going to be talking about, where is it? We're going to be talking about the boss fight, the fruit boss fight today, and the consequences of the boss fight. And some part of that will involve drops that you'll get at the end of the fight. And I was thinking potentially if there was any creative things that they could drop, like rather than just something boring. Like, it's kind of interesting to consider that, because one thing I love about D&D are all the crazy items you can get that can affect how you approach the situations and things. And making that work in a computer game is interesting, but it can still be fun. So what I'm thinking of doing, this was our dialogue from last time, so we'll open something, a new one, I think, because we're going to be brainstorming today, guys. We're going to get our heads together and think of some really cool things about our boss fight. It's not so much going to be about the mechanics of the boss fight today, because we kind of already got that sorted. We've already done the skills. Everything is already implemented there. It's just about polishing it now. But we've barely talked about the narrative side of the fight and really how it's gonna emotionally impact us as the player. And because we get some choices in this fight, and because our RPG is very kind of driven by choice and morals and consequences, and I think it's kind of cool to mix that in with the fights as well, if there's an opportunity to. And a community like that idea too, that's why it won the poll when there was a poll put up asking whether you wanted to officially kill the fruits properly or leave them alive. So that was an interesting one, and we'll be talking about that more today, about the consequences of that choice. Okay, so I'm gonna open a sheet. Which one? This one probably. But we might be smarter to start a new one, because it does lag when there's too much on in this app. Because we have quite a bit of info on this one. We've got loads of stuff. This was the last time we brainstormed the fruits. Got loads of stuff in here. We even made a sort of alignment scale of the fruits. Who was the most evil and who was the least. So they're pretty flashed out as characters as well. They're all different. We gave them all a trope as well. Found a good YouTube tutorial. It's my first language. Oh, cool. As long as you're having fun. Juicy, as long as you're having fun, that's the main thing. I draw the maps and characters. I voice act as well. Oh, that's awesome. That's really cool. And yeah, if we do have I always talk about our creative work channel, just because we get a lot of creative people coming this stream, which is not a surprise because this is a creative project. So I have a special creative work channel in our Discord for those of you that want to share off your stuff. So the options there if you want to. And does MV have a sprite maker, and does it make a separate asset for export into other games? I don't know if it has a sprite maker. It has a character generator, but the sprites are already made in that generator. I just use Photoshop and Graphics Scale to create or edit the assets and then import them directly into RPG Maker. Well, you just kind of just drag it into the folder, the files, and it's there then. Does it make a separate asset for export into other programs? I'm not so sure about that one, but I think if I have got you right, it does, because you just export the file from MV and save as a PNG, and then you can open it in a program. It's quite simple once you get the hang of it. It's not a complicated program at all. So hi Binary, how are you doing as well? Hope you are well. I'm mostly working, so I'll be lurking. Oh, thank you for the lurk, Binary, I appreciate it. And hi Van, how are you doing as well? Asprite is a good option for pixel art. Yes, I've heard Asprite is the king of pixel art programs, but I personally haven't had a proper go at it. I tend to stick with what I'm used to, and I've used Graphics Scale for like 6 years, so 6 years on and off, because I'm not really an artist. I don't consider myself an artist. I just kind of dabble in it now and again to do what we need to, and but I have been using it on and off for 6 years, and I'm kind of used to it now, so I'm reluctant to switch. And my little character appeared. I know, look at all you guys today. Holy butts, guys, look at all you guys. I'm excited to see all of you there. It's so cool. And Krita is apparently similar. Oh yeah, I've heard of that one too. Someone mentioned that one in stream the other day. Working and lurking, yay for the lurks. Yeah, well, this is the stream, guys. I don't know if we're going to have another stream where we're going to really openly brainstorm how the Fruits boss battle will affect the plot and the story and everything like that, and item drops and all what's going to make this battle cool. This will probably be the only one, but we might carry it on Friday. It depends how much we get done today. But I don't know whether to start a new screen for this. We'll see if it lags or not. If it starts lagging, we'll start a new one. Okay, so I think it's lagging already. We'll see. Okay, guys, I'm just thinking of how to lay this out, really. I'm gonna just copy these again. I think we'll start a new one, maybe. I'm only thinking if we need to copy and paste stuff that's already here or refer back to it, we might not want to, but we'll see. I'll give it a chance, but if it starts lagging, I'll just start a new document. It'll help if I turn the autosave off though, for sure. I tend to find that having autosave on causes lag in this app. I tried to start buying lunch and brainstorming about it. No, yeah, no pressure, guys. Like, just pop in and you'll see how we're getting on, because you'll see that we'll get all this area, this grey area right now. It's going to be full of ideas soon, and you'll see when you have a little peek from your likes. So no worries. And Sammy like you making dinner. Oh, yummy dinner. I hope you got some yummy foods. Yeah, give us some. Give us some. Don't have Photoshop use, he said. I wonder if there is a free program. Yeah, what's the free alternative to... Is it GIMP? But yeah, Graphic Scale and Aspirate are like the pixel programs, but GIMP and Photoshop are kind of more general. Okay guys, so I'm going into this pretty blind today, this brainstorming. I don't have many stuff prepped at all in terms of ideas of my own, because I've been busy finishing the scene work for the fruits, and I'm excited to get that scene put in the Discord on Friday stream. But I'm excited, we're going to get some stuff down. So I'm going to give this a title first of all. I've put the fruits here just so you guys will be reminded of them and remember what they look like, because some of them might have forgot, who knows. And just so in case you don't know folks, we do have some shirts of these guys. I never really advertised that shop very much at all, but those shirts were made by me, and there is one of each of each of the fruits. And oops, nearly dropped my water bottle. So feel free to have a little look. I've had some compliments on them, and someone bought one the other day. Okay. I'm not a huge fan of GIMP UI, but I haven't touched in years. I might have improved. Yeah, I get confused at some UI. I just like sticking to what I'm used to, for sure. It's just easier. So let's get the title in. So I love our brainstorming streams personally. I have lots of fun doing them. We don't do them all the time. Our streams are very varied. We tend to do different things a lot. We always focus on what we're doing now in the project, but it can switch between the more world building stuff, characters, battle mechanical stuff, or anything at all really. Okay, so I think that's a cool title. I'm thinking of putting just a little subheading. Keyboard ASMR. Okay, so we're doing brainstorming, and we're going to get a load of ideas up on this, in this little area here that's a blank space at the moment. So kind of just saying, it's not anything that's going to be here, whether it's me that suggests something, an idea, or whether it's anyone in chat. It's not necessarily going to be what we implement. We're just taking ideas right now. But let's break this down so we know exactly what we're talking about. The best kind of ASMR, clicky clack clack. I'm so glad, because once somebody came in and was like, "Your keyboard's loud," and we weren't happy at all. But I just said in response, you're gonna have to like keyboard noises in this stream, because I ain't being quiet. I have to type a lot, and you're gonna have to accept that. You gotta love the keyboard ASMR here. I mean, there's nothing we can do because I just happen to have a very loud keyboard. It's very cheap. So maybe when I'm rich, we won't have that problem. But I'm very glad that you like it anyway, guys. Okay, so right, so we got a few things to get down on here because we need to make clear of what's actually happening in this fight and what it's about. There's a lot to talk about and a lot to get put down, so I'm thinking of a good starting point. I think a good starting point, first of all, right, so one thing I'm going to do is just open before we begin. I think it's this one. There's a particular file we've got that just summarises the boss fight, so I'm going to just copy and paste something in there maybe. Load. Hurry up and load. Well, I would hate watching writing streams and so much keyboard. I know, right? At least you can't hear the clacking of my keys too. When you're writing and typing stuff, the last thing you want is someone complaining about that, because you know it's all you do, and no one's gonna want to have to be like super gentle in the type. Because that will, you know, we just want to type. We don't want to have to be quiet. Okay, so here we are. Now, okay, so this is the bit I was looking at, mainly the stuff here in phase 2. So at the end of the battle, right, this is the key thing about this fight, folks, and obviously if you tend to hang out in these streams a lot, you might already know that this is happening in this fight. But if you don't, then this is news to you. So, at the end of the fight, also, the fruits are the first boss of the game, by the way. So I'm going to just change this a sec. Just so it's clear that they are the first boss of the game. So at the end of the fight, we'll say battle. So this is pretty interesting. I'm intrigued to know if there's any other video games out there, RPGs, that do a similar mechanic in any boss fights where you actually get a choice whether you want to kill them for good or let them live. The community months ago were very fond of this idea. When we first literally came up with the fruits concept back in the day, when we were like, who should the first boss of the game be? We decided, well, yeah, let's have these guys. Back when we created them, everybody was really fond of having this choice. It won the poll. I think people just got attached to the fruits and thought, do they really have to die? So adorable, do they really have to die? I mean, they're not adorable, they're evil. Well, I'd say 3 of them are definitely evil and 2 of them are questionably evil. So yeah, that's the key thing about this fight in terms of choice. You get those are the choices. The first phase of the fight is very kind of standard. The 5 fruits are together in battle and you can hit whoever you want out of the 5, and you have to get each their HP to 0. It's very, very standard. But in the second phase of the fight, once you've got all their HP to 0, something different happens. Once the last fruit gets to 0 HP, phase 2 of the fight is triggered. And what happens is a huge painting, a canvas, like plops down in the middle of the battle. And the fruit that was last killed will paint a picture. And the picture, the painting, will look different depending on which fruit it is. And we've already done a poll on this as well, so we're going to get that poll up in a sec and bring those paintings in on the brainstorm. But yeah, this painting is just a painting. It's not alive and doesn't attack, but narratively there's a story going on here because the fruits actually hide behind the painting, because at this point they know they're probably nearly dead and they're scared at this point, so they're using the canvas as a cover to hide behind and trying to kind of put on this front of being tough, I guess, because they think the painting is actually a monster, so it's like, yeah, this is scary, and they're trying to be intimidating, although it's obviously very silly and it's not working because the painting's not alive or real. And Kia, how are you doing? Thank you so much for that raid, I appreciate that. How was your stream, my friend? Let's give you a shout out. Ooh, Abby, did you make a MV stuff today? How did that go? How is your game progressing? And welcome everybody who's come along from Kia's stream. Feel free to say hello and introduce yourselves. Thank you for coming along with the raid. Okay, guys, so the main thing to know is that yes, in phase 2 there will be a painting that will look different based on the fruit. So I will get an image of each of those paintings in a sec. But that is interesting because when it comes to loot, so I think loot is a big thing here because your drops are going to be different, aren't they? So loot from the battle. Now, if you let them live, you're not going to get any drops because they'll have run off, right? You'll have run off. So the drawback of letting them live is you're not going to get all these cool extra items. But the one thing that benefits you is that you don't have the guilty conscience of killing the fruits. And you potentially have a side quest later in the game and an opportunity to meet them again if you let them live. I mean, it could come back to bite you on the butt because they are evil and they might do evil stuff if you decide to keep them alive. But we don't know at this point. It's all a mystery of what their fate will be if you do let them live. But we are pretty sure they will make a return at some point. But you will not get the cool loot. So it's kind of like, is the loot more important to me or are the fruits' lives more important to me? So when we think about the loot that we'll actually be getting, let's just list that, because with Raindrop Chronicles we take a realistic approach with loot. None of our enemies in general, like the smaller enemies on the field, this goes for as well, they don't drop raindrops, which are our gold, our currency at the game. They don't drop things like that because it would make no sense. They will drop like creature parts, something that's realistic to what is on them as a monster. So when we think about the fruits, obviously it would make sense that the monocle would drop. Is that how you spell it? And Blueberry's birthday hat, they're potential items that would drop, you know, because they're physically there on Plum and Blueberry. So I'm going to put if you kill them. Obviously the paints and the paintbrushes the palettes. Now, there's something else I want to expand on with this particular item. Key item. I'd say that's a key item. I don't know if you'd physically be able to use it as an item or if it'd have any benefit to you, but Chub Cheek a while ago said something really cool about the idea of the paints being a drop from the battle if you do if you kill them, and it's linked to the plot with what is happening. That's what makes it cool. So I'm going to actually talk about that a little bit later in the stream, but I just wanted to mention that for now. I mean, blueberries is the drop for the birthday hat and plum for the monocle. I mean, it would be pretty cool if the others had unique items, but they don't. I mean, I suppose a leaf would make sense as a drop, perhaps. But yeah, you know, it's the others don't have anything physical, so yeah. But yeah, those are some ideas of loot. But obviously, if you let them live, none, because I mean, I feel like we have to, we need to make the two choices equally as hard to pick from. We don't want to make one of the choices too easy. So it's like, it makes sense if you get the benefit of the loot from killing them, but if you let them live, you get the benefit of the extra side quests later on. And the guilty conscience as well, you don't have either. And let's catch up with chat then. And hi Nana, how you doing? It's progressing well, did some writing. I'm excited for MZ coming later this summer. Oh, are you going to be getting that then? Yeah, from what I've seen, it looks quite similar to MV at the moment, but I'm intrigued about how it is going to differ. Do any of you guys know? I had a dream. It was pretty crazy. I had a dream a few nights ago about MZ actually, but it was like full on Witcher style engine, like The Witcher 3. It was like proper high end stuff, and it was just such a silly dream because that is not RPG making. 38 out of 50 followers though, so pretty stoked. Oh, cool. Yeah, GG. Congrats on that. Looking forward to seeing MZ too. They should drop a bag of raindrops as they run away, just so the player gets something. Nah, we're not having... Raindrops will be gained in other ways. It won't be from enemy loot, because it's not realistic enough that they'd be holding that. We kind of want to stay real to what they would be honestly have on them. But yeah, we'll be talking about how to get raindrops and earn raindrops in the game at some point as well, when we get to a suitable time to discuss that. And RPG Maker Web, they have a couple of posts. Their animation editor looks great. Oh, that's cool. The blood paint palette could be a drop, giving a random animal enemy based effect for rows, kind of like a preview of enemies we will see in future chronicles. Let's save that then, National, because I'm gonna have a reread of that at some point. I'll read it again now actually. So the blood paint palette could be a drop, giving a kind of random animal enemy based effect for row, kind of like a preview of enemies we will see in the future chronicles. Which, when you say blood paint palette, do you mean tomato? I just want to make sure I'm getting it, I'm understanding, or whether is this a complete different drop? And when you say giving an animal enemy effect for Rose, is that like her weapon? Because one thing about Rose is her weapon is blood. That's been discussed briefly on stream sometimes as well, that at the moment we've just got it as teeth for some reason, but it will be blood. Like, it'll start as like a sort of lowly blood, and lowly animal blood, like rat's blood or cow's blood or something, but eventually the blood that she collects will become more epic. And it's kind of a unique type of weapon because it's not really a physical weapon with Rose, like a lot of the playable characters, but it definitely fits for her vampire class quite well. But when it comes to drops, like a lot of these things, like the monocle and the birthday hat, for example, they could work as accessories, perhaps, in some way and give a benefit to the player. Not necessarily in battle either. Like, I'm very inspired by D&D's items as well, and how some of them have benefits in other ways as well, rather than just the battle. Like, affect you in general in the game as well, and things, how you interact with NPCs and what and how it might have, we're going to look at some, like, as an inspiration in a bit, going to do a bit of research. But yeah, like a sort of buff in battle to me is I personally get bored by just accessories that I like creative accessories that can affect you in other ways too. Hi Chub Cheeks, how are you doing? It's good to see you. And I was talking about you earlier, Chub, because we're going to get your idea up on this brainstorm a bit later. You might not even remember, but you had a really cool idea a few weeks ago about the fruits and what something that they drop. Well, the paints and paintbrushes. Okay. Talking about me, I would expect nothing less. I know, right? Okay, so yeah, so we've got to clear the loot will differ depending on it. Is there a way we can get arrows up here? Let me think. Yeah, it's a little bit messy. I don't think we need to bother. Okay, so I'm thinking, was there anything else to talk about? So, things that might potentially differ with the two choices. So, how should we word this? So different things could happen based on what choice you picked. We've already said loot to differ. Loot will be different. Well, none if you let them live. And moral points could be affected. Compassion, bravery, wisdom. Oh, they paint in colour. Yeah, that was the one, Chub. You remember the idea. So it's basically, if you go for the killing them option, you'll get paints. You'll get the paints and paintbrushes, and it will benefit you in some way having them in the next quest of the game, and the next scene as well when Rose finishes the painting, which I'm going to clarify a little bit more in a bit. But the fact is, just to simplify, the loot that you get from the battle, it's gotta be amazing, you know, it's gotta be cool. It's gotta be cool enough for you to be tempted to kill them rather than let them live and get the extra side quest and meeting with the fruits later on in the game. Otherwise, everyone's going to just think, yeah, let them live because I want to unlock a side quest and see them again. But damn, we got to have consequences from letting them live as well. But we also don't want to make people be like, yeah, we're going to kill the meat, and make that too much of an easy choice either. Both choices have to potentially have negative consequences as well as positive consequences if we're going to make this worth it. Otherwise, what's even the point of having two choices if one's the easy choice? You can preview movement route in MZ. Are you guys tempting me to get MZ? I'm really glad for you guys if you guys here are wanting to make your game in MZ. We won't be doing it for Raindrop Chronicles. It's extremely unlikely because we've already started, and I'm very attached to the plugins we've got, and I don't want to start over. It would have to literally be next gen as a program for me to switch, like seriously next gen. And by that I mean just have like ridiculously incredible features, not just slightly better features. I'm being a critic, I know. But honestly, for you guys who are excited, I'm super happy for you. Yeah, just attacks be like Raven Blood +1 agility +1 wisdom, or Beholder Blood, 10% chance for 1 hit KO in the battle. Yeah, so what you're thinking, National, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Sometimes I can be a bit slow at latching on to ideas first time when I read them. But from what I'm gathering, you mean like something that drops will be a weapon for Rose, like a type of blood that she can equip, like a next upgrade. That's what I'm gathering. I mean, yeah, I can see that working, unless you mean as an accessory, but and yeah, there's no reason why these accessories that are gained are accessories that help boost in battles. But I was thinking of the monocle. I was researching D&D items, and there was something similar, a monocle item in that something like, if you read books, you like decipher sort of text or language that you wouldn't be able to understand otherwise, and that's like a non-battle benefit accessory. But it's quite interesting because it seems like really situational, an item like that. But if you ever come across a time where like you find books in the game and it benefits you in a quest to, you know, you would be really glad you've got that item. And yeah, because Raindrop Chronicles is kind of going to be a very real RPG and inspired by tabletop in some ways, I think it'd be pretty cool to have items and accessories that do creative and wild things as well, like that. Rather than just your standard video game RPG accessories that are just for battles. It's just something to consider because I think it's pretty cool. I'm cooking something, so I'm going to be liking. Oh, I hope it's yummy. I want to know what it is. I want to see photos. Also, the relationship with other characters could be affected. However, people who don't know the game won't know if the loot or the quest is even there until they make the decision. Yeah, and that's why it's consequences, in my opinion, because with consequences, you don't know. You don't have a clue at the time how the choice you're making is going to even matter. You know, you just don't know. You can't predict the future unless you've read a guide, then you'll know. But that's, to me, part of the fun, because in real life consequences are the same in that you do things and you don't realise until after how that consequence has affected you as a person, how your actions have affected things. If you knew before you made the decision what was going to happen, then yeah, that takes away the whole experience and fun side. And the relationship with the other characters could be affected. That's an interesting point as well that I feel like we should expand on by other characters. Any characters in particular that you're thinking of, or in general? And I was thinking it would be something to use in battle. It gives a random bonus and a monster name. Something more for fun and lore over something too powerful. Yeah, and the stuff like any accessories that give like a sort of stat boost in battle are all are definitely going to be something we're going to talk about more when we have an item stream in the future as well. So anything that we talk about today, it's going to kind of be up in the air right now, how it's going to boost or benefit the player, if it's anything especially anything specific to battles, because there's balancing that needs to be done, and we'd have to test if that accessory is going to be workable, or because once you introduce accessories with boosts and that, you those have to be taken into account with the balancing as well. But it's definitely, I can see a mixture. I think having accessories that benefit you in battle and accessories that benefit you on the field and in quests that are more situational, I think having a mix of the both would be pretty cool, because D&D works like that as well. I need to find that website, because there was a big thread on the really creative D&D items, and I spent an hour reading last night and I was like, this is really cool. Some of these items are super creative. Well, if you choose to kill the fruits, I think that whoever the characters are at the time should say something. If you choose that route and question you, then give you a second chance to change your mind. Yeah, I think that dialogue in the battle, as long as it's not intrusive and coming up at annoying times, I think that would be great. I managed to set up a bit of scripting actually, and I showed this last stream. I managed to set it up so that we have the opportunity to give each of the fruits our own unique lines of dialogue, depending on if they were first, second, third or fourth killed in battle. So for example, if you kill Plum first, he might say something different to what he'll say if you kill him second, third, fourth or last. And because Plum is the intelligent one, he might say something that gives you wisdom points if you decide to keep him alive for longer. So that is potentially how your morale points could be affected as well, the order that you kill things in. And like we say, that could frustrate some players, because they think, well, I didn't know that. I never knew that the turn order would affect my points that I'd get. But, consequences, that's kind of the point, right? That they don't know. That's kind of what I'm thinking. But you can still choose to kill them, but the hero will know that his team has options about what he did. Yeah, I'm going to copy and paste that as well, Van. I'm trying to imagine in my head a dialogue sort of interaction of how that would go, because I think it sounds really good on paper. But I'm trying to imagine how it would go as well. I think at some point, even if we don't do it today during the brainstorming, actually doing a dialogue sort of plan, a dialogue flow of the end of the first phase to the second phase of the fight, how that'll all go, would be cool. Even if it's not a lot of dialogue, it might just be the odd pop up during the key moments. We don't want to be extremely intrusive, but if it's going to benefit, if having it is going to benefit narratively, then yeah, for sure. So whoever the characters are at the time should say something if you choose that route. So, okay. But yeah, if any, I find that idea really cool. But yeah, I'm definitely intrigued of how it will all go. Right, so is there anything else to get on here? I think there is. So yeah, loot will be different. Morale points could be affected. Of course, your compassion would be a key one that would, but bravery also potentially could be affected too, depending on which of the two choices you made. And the other one, the only other one, well, there's a couple of other things that I could imagine it affecting as well. The first one is certain quests will be unlockable, lockable, or I'll just say available, that makes sense. Or not. Yeah, okay. So obviously the main quest that's going to be available is the one where you meet the fruits again, clearly, because if you kill them, you're not going to meet them again. They're gone. But letting them live, you've kind of, there's a chance, an opportunity to see them again in the future somewhere. We don't know when in the game yet, but at some point there's always that opportunity. So yeah, a side quest with the fruits again is a clear, obvious one that could happen. Another thing as well is like the NPCs in Lake 4. I mean, it doesn't even have to just be Lake 4. It could be NPCs in other villages as well, but I'm thinking Lightfall because it's local and it's relevant to where we are in the game and where the fruits are based. And they could respond differently because who knows? I mean, we know there's a history between the fruits and the Lightfall NPCs. The NPCs of Lightfall have eaten fruits in the past, well, recently. Tomato mentions in the cutscene that his brother was squeezed into juice by a human. So he's very angry about his brother's death. Lemon also mentions that Blueberry's mother was baked into a pie. So there's anger there as well. They don't like the Lakefall NPCs. So one of the NPCs, or two of them, have done that. They were responsible for what happened to their relatives, their loved ones. There is a way that I can't think off the top of my head how they would respond differently now, or how if there would even be an opportunity to. But there's a chance. Let me think. So something else that was relevant to that I wanted to mention too. I think expanding on this part here, so the pros and cons now. So the obvious one of killing them, the prize for choice one would be you get the loot. You get awesome loot. So bold that so we can. Which is that? Well, potentially that, should I say? I mean, I like National's idea about something that will benefit Rose in battle, but I'd really love it if it was something that Link was one of the fruits, like the tomato juice as a form of blood. Could that work? I mean, because we've got a monocle for Plum, a birthday hat for Blueberry, but we haven't got items for the other three yet. I mean, Apple's leaf could have been one. I don't know how that will benefit anyone. Yeah, I'm just thinking if we could have one of it a fancy exclusive item from each of the fruits, then maybe depending on your actions in battle, the one that you leave alive last will be the drop you get, maybe, and it will so it depends on which one you kill, rather than get all of them, rather than get like 5. But if it was, say, tomato juice for tomato, that could be something that Rose would benefit from. I mean, it looks a little bit like blood. It could work as blood. That's just an idea, like if we want to like really link the items, the loot that we get, so it fits in with what they look like visually, and to actually get something physical from the enemies. Because I personally like the idea of it being realistic. Having the actual monocle and birthday hats drops, like from them too, I think is quite cool. I can't think right now what those items will do as accessories, but we can totally put our minds to it and think at some point. Doesn't even have to be today, it can be when we have item streams, we can think more about that. But just knowing that those are drops, I think, keeps the idea of killing them and getting them as rewards at least quite tempting, even if we don't know what they do for now. And what about the normal stuff we get from produce, rind, pork seeds? Yeah, that is totally workable as loot too, because normal monster loot, like where the toxic plant and all the other enemies in the Everbloom Forest, they drop things like fangs and fungus, mushroom stuff, and foresty themed loot that would benefit as crafting materials. I think that sort of loot is definitely really cool for dropping as well. So I'm gonna just put that there as well. Produce drops. I'm gonna put in brackets for crafting, because I think that's kind of how I imagine that being used for things like. So we'll put that there as well. Now, the paint and paintbrushes are more key items, I see those as. And I want to talk more about them because Chubcheek's idea was really cool about the paints and paintbrushes. And it's just like a key item that you can't really use, but it's there anyway. And it will potentially, have an impact on how the next quest goes because you've got them items. And these are more like accessories. So accessory from Plum, accessory from Blueberry. I mean, is this text a bit big? Let's make it a bit wider so we're not all squished. Leaf is a bit of a bland name. I feel like we could have an adjective to describe the leaf a bit better, but I feel like we should hold on until we know of a potential use for that accessory, because then that might inspire an adjective we could have for the leaf name. These are like just ideas for now. So tomato juice accessory to tomato. Out of everything that's been mentioned so far, I could imagine that being the idea of National meant about the thing that helped Rose. Relude Gardens music, Final Fantasy 11. Yeah, I'm glad you like the music in the background. Apple seeds, lemon seeds, blueberry pulp, plum pit. Oh, that's really, yeah, if we can make them link with the fruits, it's even better for more descriptive stuff. So, lemon seeds. GG National. It makes it more emotional as well, because when you hit blueberry pulp and lemon seeds, it makes you feel quite sad that they're gone and their like soul is no longer with us, and we're just left with this produce. So apple seeds, I mean, anything rind is a good one, but what would that even fit any of the fruits? If not, then we'll replace that. So plum pit, what's pit? I'm a bit new, but there we go. Okay, so the produce drupes are things like for crafting. I mean, that's something that would be general drops, I imagine, from any monster. Like the toxic plant could drop its fang. I always sort of imagine that would be a drop from the toxic plant enemy, the first enemy you meet. Lemon rind, oh yeah, should we do that for lemon then, because that we don't have two seeds then, we keep the seeds exclusive to apple and then the rind exclusive to lemon, just for a bit of a difference. Okay, so it's just the tomato we haven't got a produce drop fruit for yet, but okay, so, and the other accessory, the accessory from lemon, is the one we haven't thought of yet. And my first thought was scar, but you can't, a scar isn't an object. Like, obviously, the scar would have died with lemon. But that's the only unique feature on lemon, his scar. So I'm trying to think if that all could be turned into an item. I mean, scarred rind, something like that, something related to the scar, like a bit of like, is that what it's called, the outside of the lemon? Like we could call it scarred, something like that. I mean, who knows? It's a lot harder for the fruits that don't actually have a physical item on them. Like for blueberry and plum, it was easy peasy because they're wearing a monocle and birthday hat. Lemon peel, oh, lemon peel, yeah, scarred peel. I don't know if that works. I mean, as an accessory, I can't even think what use that would be, but who knows? We can look at D&D items for inspiration and be like, oh yeah, we can use them like that. Maybe scarred isn't the right word. I mean, lemon's old and like battered now and bruised. I mean, bruised peel could be one. I mean, the peel could work as a produce drop as well quite easily. But we've already got the rind now, or rind, or however we pronounce it. I don't think you have to get something from anyone. Yeah, I think it's only because we do that if we were going to have only one drop depending on your actions in battle, who you killed last or something, because that way, you know, if we only had an item from some, then it would be like, well, what would have made that item drop? You know what, I don't think I'm explaining myself well, but it's only if we go the direction where it's a conditional drop based on which fruit is killed last or something. Also, we forgot like a really key item, the painting. The painting that that drops for the second phase. And that will be different with every fruit as well. I'm going to have to get images of that up because a lot of you might have not seen those paintings yet. But they're 5 different paintings, the different one for each fruit. So obviously you're only going to get the painting that was the one that was painted in your particular battle based on which fruit was last killed. The leafy stem of the tomatoes are an underexplored part for cooking. I've heard good things about its flavour. Blemished lemon peel. Blemished, that's a good word. Blemished, is that when you're embarrassed though, or am I mistaken? And thank you for the follow, Thanos, I appreciate that. Welcome to the stream. I've been listening in and your voice is so soothing. My voice. And sorry for my silence, adding commands from my stream. I'm just reading up in chat because I missed a few bits earlier on. No worries, Kia. No worries at all. And, is it possible to tie item drops to having or using a skill like we get pulp or juice if we have squish it? I am not sure. Like, I need to. It's hard to know at this stage because I'm still learning as I go in terms of the engine's limitations. I don't think it would. I can't say for sure that it wouldn't let me do that. I'm sure it could, but I'm not 100% sure. But it's an interesting thing to consider, and it's worth looking into. So I'm going to get that put in as well. So I think lemon should give you nothing. Ah, poor lemon. But yeah, I kind of get that because it's really difficult, particularly with lemon, to think of an item. So, you know, it kind of, it would fit if, is there a way we can, I don't think there is a strike through on this, unfortunately. Oh, there is. Yeah, unless we can think of a really cool item, because at the moment the bruised peel sounds a bit too much like a produce drop rather than a physical accessory. So poor lemon if he's the one that doesn't drop anything. And I feel like part of me is very tempted to go for the whole RNG thing with these items and you know, 1 drops depending on a certain amount of factors, but rather than have the monocle and the birthday hat and like everything drop, you know, just have 1 of the 5 items depending on certain factors. But maybe some of you have been looking at lemon and then you don't get an item. You don't get accessory, and could be a funeral, but also a recipe for lemonade. Lemon zest. Lemon could have a cool magical tattoo. I think it should be a no drop. Could be a consumable item. What about the players that get salty for getting the lemon? Like, I mean, I guess we have to consider what the factors would be for these drops. My obvious one would be who was killed last on the field. So if Apple was the one that was alive to last, then you'd get his leaf accessory. And if Blueberry was the last alive, then you'd get the birthday hat. And I mean, those are like that's the obvious and easiest way to do it. But anyone that had lemon last alive, they will be very salty if they don't get a drop. And if we go for that route, that is if we decide to not have a drop. But like you say, life gives you lemons. It's not like it wouldn't make sense. It's kind of us being a troll to the player. And how is juice an accessory? Well, it would be for Rose because she's a vampire and it would be like blood for her. if that makes sense. It's hard to say. You have to understand the mechanics of Rose's weapon, and I'm going to put weapon for that. Weapon or accessory. But that came from National Mars's idea. I kind of altered it a bit so it fit physically with the tomato a little more. But yeah, it is the bit of the odd one out and sounds like produce. I get that, rather than accessory. But Rose is a vampire, kind of uses weapons that are juicy and blood based as a sort of enhancement thing for her vampirism. If we like the no drop, Lemon could have on defeat attack, squirt his lemon juice and possibly KO the team, but only if he's the last one left. I like TKO with life gives you Lemon's message. Sorry to sound like massive noob, but what does TKO mean? I just want to clarify that. Does it, because at first I thought you meant KO as in kill, but I'm assuming the T changes the meaning of that. With the life gives you lemons total. Oh, so it does mean KO. Thought, yeah. Okay, so so if we like the no drop, Lemon could have an on. Yeah. Is that mean though, guys? Like, would you guys, I'm going to ask you as players here, because you're the player. If that happened to you and you were playing the game and you as the player just happened to leave Lemon as the last one, and he did that to you, would you get salty and mad and frustrated at the game and rage quit? What would your opinion? I mean, you've come up with the ideas, so obviously it's appealing to you to have that sort of thing happen. So I'm curious. And game should have funny mess ups, yeah? So you like it then? I mean, it happens in games that you don't get loot sometimes. Yeah, okay then. So it does fit narratively, and that's why I like it. So I'm gonna copy and paste those ideas in. So I just like to know, like, in detail these ideas, guys. I like to think, okay, I'm curious why you've suggested that and why you like it, why you think it'd be cool for the game. I'd leave a horrible review on Steam. Joke. Yeah, I'm already very emotionally prepared for that, to be honest. I think you have to be when you're making a game, because that happens to developers. Yeah, it's not an automata. If you remove your CPU, you die. It's funny. Oh yeah, I know about that one. I remember that one actually. But okay, so if you want to give them loot from him, give them a note card that says sometimes life gives you lemon. Yeah, you know what, that's smart. I think that's what was missing for me. I was like, oh, is that a bit like the player would be left puzzled and perplexed, but with that, it kind of is like, yeah, that's why you didn't get a drop and that's why it happened. And then the player's like, oh, yeah. And, yeah, I think that works very well, something like that. So, very smart. Very cool idea, Van. So I might even change that to this. I mean, it fits with Lemon perfectly in personality. Lemon's very, he's guarded, he's a bit moody. He'd be the one that would do that out of all of them as well. He's very stoic, Lemon is. I don't like it, but it's kind of flavourful for Lemon to pull a final stunt like that. Blueberry's dead in front of him, the team has gone down. Yeah, it fits with the character. Like, I think the only time I'm like, oh, like, I guess it's because I'm not like a trolley person, but when it fits like narratively and with the personality like that, then yeah, it totally works and makes sense. Yeah, I think RPG should go back to its roots of being hard. Yeah, I think with hard, I mean, it's like, how do you define hard? I mean, if we mean hard just for the sake of hard, then yeah, no. But if it's actually really cleverly designed and done, then yeah, then I agree. It's nice when games are hard, because there's too much hand holding in games nowadays, and I'm not really a fan of that myself. I prefer to work it out myself rather than be told. So I can for sure agree. And so that's the loot and note card. Besides, you want the game to be replayable. Some will just play again or reload it off. So it's a sour. Yeah, I like it. It's for sure very funny. I like such an addition, and I would love our game to be full of these touches. Not necessarily something mean and trolley, but something that really just makes the player smile or laugh, and I think that would do that well. So I'm going to put here note saying, yeah, because it'll work, like having yeah, I like this. I'm kind of attached now. At first I wasn't sure, but the more we've talked about it, the more I think it fits. So let's note saying, sometimes life gives you lemons. Accessory. I mean, would it be an accessory or would it be more of a key item? I mean, it would make sense to be consistent in the drop type, but not necessarily. I mean, if it's not got a use, then it would just be a waste of an accessory. So it might make sense to have it as a key item, but I've put both in brackets because whatever way we decide to go. Yeah, just be junk in your inventory, not all things of value. Yeah, so it's more of a key item then, for sure. So by key item, that kind of means junk as well. Key items, junk, things that aren't actually usable but that are just there as like things that are there for lore or laugh purposes, or something that's there as a physical item that you would have picked up that you don't know the use for quite yet, but it might benefit you later in the game having it there. For example, the painting item. Who knows? Maybe you'll meet an NPC later on who will want that painting, but you just don't know yet. Let's catch up with chat, because there's some stuff you guys have said. I could even do a replay achievement feature. Each fruit gives a different achievement. Could have multiple boss fights too. Different family members or something. Lemon murderer, lemon serial killer, lemon genocide. Ooh, interesting. So let me take that all in again. So the achievement thing I like. I'm going to actually make a note of that. So that's a maybe at the moment, because we haven't really explored achievements yet for our game, but it's always nice to consider what those achievements could potentially be. And let's just read the second part again. So you could have a multiple fruit boss fights, 2 different family members or something. What do you mean by that one? Because I'm intrigued, but I'm not latching on to what it means fully. And yeah, too much hand holding. I mean, it's nice, but the challenge helps with the replay value. See, I don't think hand holding is nice. I find it intrusive and annoying because it stops my immersion. And I feel like I'm not in another world anymore. I feel like I'm being taught by a computer rather than in another world. Because, you know, if we were thrown into some other world, really, we wouldn't get pop-ups coming up telling us what to do all the while. We'd have to work it out ourselves. Could be that he's saying he's had written on his own skin. Could be the saying he's had written on his own skin. Oh, so what you're saying, National, is the note isn't a note, it's actually a lemon peel. It's a lemon peel with it written on there. Is that what you mean? Rather than a paper note? Yeah, it would make more sense, because if it's a paper note, it'd be like, well, where was that paper come from? But if it's an actual lemon peel, I mean, if that's what you mean. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I'm assuming. A lemon peel with that written on it. Like, if you kill them, a family squad of new fruits tries to get revenge. Could be a 3-wave total throughout the game. Ooh. Yeah. So, you know how we said here, hang on, did we write it yet? I don't think we have written it yet, but I mentioned earlier in the stream that, of course, if you choose to keep them alive, you might meet them again later on, and there'll be a chance for further character development and another quest, a side quest maybe, if it's not part of the main plot, which it probably wouldn't be if given the circumstances and the fact that it branched. But you could also, as Juicy says, that if you did kill them, there could be a revenge kind of story later on with other fruits. There's a potential there for that if we wanted to. It's a cool idea. And yeah, it's a kind of strangely put from Lemon to make that phrase in his life motto. Yeah, it's kind of heartbreaking because I'm attached to Lemon. I think he's one of the nice ones in the group. Bless him. And who knows, like, it might seem useless at the moment and just something that's junk, but imagine if you met an NPC later on that really appreciated that quote and wanted to keep the lemon peel, you know, and you gave it to them as a gift. Who knows? Okay, and was there something else? Pros and cons, let's get them in. So choice 1 pros, you get awesome loot. Now choice 1 cons are the guilty conscience. How do you spell conscience? That's it. The risk of the future generations of the fruits coming back for revenge on you. Now, another choice 1 pro is the fact that you save Lakefall from potentially being conquered, because that's what they were doing. The fruits, the reason you're battling against them in the first place is because they have an evil, twisted plan to conquer Lakefall. If any of you guys want to read the actual story, it's right here in our Lore Bible, by the way. Eventually we'll have a story sci-fi video to accompany this text, but for now we've just got the text. And letting them all go 3 times would give an achievement, fruit, friends, or something. Yeah, I'd love to have achievements, like loads of them, in our game, and obviously because of all the branching paths, and you know, you're not going to get them all on just one playthrough, which makes it fun. Okay, so You save Lakefall from potentially being conquered. I'll just get rid of that. Now, the choice 2 cons is that you get no loot. Because you literally will get no loot if you let them live, because they've escaped with it all. You know, they'll take their painting with them, the paintbrushes, and you won't get your produce drops, and you won't get the special accessory drop that's, you know, depending on which one you kill last. So yeah, that's the unfortunate thing about saving them. You also you risk Lakefall being conquered in the future, because the fact is, if you've left them alive, that doesn't mean, you know, that they're not going to do that. They'll probably do what they can to achieve their goal still, when they've run away. After you've let them live, they'll be plotting behind the scenes as you're still playing through the game. They'll be plotting how to conquer Lakefall, and who knows, maybe they might do that. I mean, they'd need a vampire's blood to do that, but who knows? Maybe something like this would be dependent on your actions in a separate quest as well. And perhaps, you know, if you did something in another quest, that will actually happen, but not necessarily. It's dependent on other things that you do in the game too. And your ending of episode 1 could end in disaster, where Lakefall's just a completely destroyed little village, because episode 1 were multiple endings as well. Like, there was like some talk about eventually letting the reptiles live there over the humans, and then the humans are the ones living in the cave and the reptiles are living in the village, if you decided to side with the reptiles. I mean, it's not black and white with the reptiles. The reptiles kind of right now have been painted as the villains. And of course, Chub Cheeks, his character is definitely, he's a bad guy. He's behind Carol's family's kidnapping, so he's unlikely to redeem himself. But that doesn't mean the other reptiles are bad. Like, race, and it's not black and white. There's no such thing as evil races, in my opinion. And there was a really interesting article on D&D about this recently as well, and it's true. Like, the reptiles don't have to be bad. There could be a lot of good in some of them, and I kind of am a bit of a reptile sympathiser and would love, like, there to be a choice to populate Lakefall with reptiles if you as a player sympathise with them over the humans. So there could be an ending where the village is actually populated with reptiles rather than the humans at the end. But of course, if you've kept the fruits alive, you know, whoever's living there at the time is going to get murdered, whether it's humans or reptiles. But not necessarily. Like, I think that should be dependent on other factors too, not just if you kept them alive. It would be a bit cruel if that always happens, if you keep them alive. It would be dependent on whether, you know, whether they achieve things or whether you made things easier for them to get their goal. And back, so what are we doing now? We're talking about, like, consequences and how if this was gonna, what I've got highlighted here about you risk Lakefall being conquered in the future, because that's their goal, isn't it? The fruit's main motivation, apart from Apple, is to conquer Lakefall. And if you let them live, they're always free to still do that and still plot that plan. And it'll be dependent on a number of factors, I think. There's a chance. That's why I've put you risk that happening, and not that it would be a definite thing that would happen. And same for that you risk the future generations coming back for revenge. Like, we don't know if it's going to happen. That would be dependent on things too, perhaps. And now, what are the choice 2 pros? Because we've got none yet. So let them live. I'd say No guilty conscience. Because you've let them live and you can be like, yay, I feel good now. I didn't kill any cute fruits. I can't think of any other things in particular that would make that pro. I mean, if you guys think of some, let me know, because I think it's a good thing to consider the pros and cons, simply because we can keep it as balanced as possible that way. We don't want one of the choices to be like easy to make, you know. We want both choices to be equally as a dilemma for us. So that's kind of why I'm listing the different pros and cons here for those. And hi Tillers, how you doing? Or a fruit monster party member. Or a summon, if that's what you mean. If you mean playable character, we will be having summons and stuff in our game, and there's some really cool ideas. There's a character in the game that might potentially become a summon, for, you know, and a summonable character, and I thought they DM'd me about it and I thought it was a pretty cool idea. And I'm all for having some really creative summons. I mean, Stumpy as a summon's another thought. Stumpy's a character that we adore, who we haven't really talked about much for a while, but we'll be revisiting Stumpy in the near future. He's no doubt going to have a side quest based around him, and there's a chance for him to become a summon as well. Fruit Frankenstein would be epic. Yeah, who knows? We could make the fruits come as a summon at some point, or one of the fruits be a summon. But who knows, like what one would have led to them becoming a summon. I assume that letting them live one would, of course, because if you kill them, they can't be a summon then, can they? So I'm going to just make a note of that there, just potential for fruits, or one fruit to become a future summon. Just because I'm a big massive fan of us having really, you know, what do you call it, sort of, I'm fond of like the summons being lovable characters we've met on our journey. I think that's it's nice, rather than just be Ifrit or Shiva or just some random ice and fire monster that has no relevance to the game's world or lore. Like, obviously for Final Fantasy that's perfect, but if we just copied Final Fantasy and had our version of those summons and there was no like emotional impact or behind them, it would just feel empty. So having like things like Stumpy be a summon and the fruits be a summon, I think that's something worth considering. And so you could have the Necromancer be able to summon one of the dead fruits, but that would probably depend on when you get the Necromancer. Oh, that's a creative way to do it too. Like, it doesn't even have to be the summoner class that has the summon. It could be done in a way where it's the Necromancer. So I'm going to make a note of that there too. So one fruit to become a future summon, or have the Necromancer summon one of the fruits. I'll put dead fruits just for some more clarity there. And yeah, the Necromancer, I mean, nobody's unlocked Necromancer yet or chosen it as a class, but you know, this is an ongoing project. I'm expecting all those playable classes to get taken eventually. We're only like on the very, very, very early development here, so chances are we'll get them all taken over the years of developing this, as more people get the raindrops in stream, and I'm sure someone will end up being a Necromancer. It was more combining all the items to be combined into a summon or something, but that works too. The boss, yeah, that we can put a note there as well, because Frankenstein fruits that kind of is the sort of necromancer feel to it, or I don't know, does it? It's just, I mean, I don't know much enough about necromancer lore, but I suppose Raindrop Chronicles would have our own necromancer lore, but that could work. I'm going to just put just as an extra thing so we remember that, because we could go either way. We'd probably do a poll or something when the time comes and decide the best way to deal with having the fruit as a summon, what would be the most fun and coolest way. So having a note of those things is cool and important, so I remember. And yeah, so it could go either way. Obviously, if you kill them, if you kill the fruits, that would go with the necromancer sort of idea. But if you let them live, it would go with a general summoning idea. It all would depend. Okie doke. So I'm just going to think, because there's way more to talk about, but I'm thinking, what have we covered? What haven't we covered yet? So we've talked about the loot, but I want to get those paintings in, guys, because I want you guys to remember what the paintings are. Who here remembers what the paintings look like? I'm wondering who was around back when we did this poll. So I'm just going to get it up. Now, eventually the polls, all these little sub navigations are going to get taken off the main website, and they're going to become more part of the lore Bible, because I'm kind of aiming for this to just be a one-page website with without the extra sub pages eventually. But just so you know, all this will end up on the lore Bible. So where is it? Here it is. So this was a poll that we did a while back. So this is about the second phase of the fight, and the painting that appears is dependent on the fruit that was last killed. So these are the paintings that match up with each of the fruits. So the one that you end up with in your inventory will obviously be the one of the fruit that was last killed. And that item will stay with you in your inventory until there's ever a use for it. Maybe different NPCs could value these paintings. Different NPCs you meet in different villages one of them might want that one of them might want that one, who knows. But the fact is, the painting will just be left there, so we'll have to pick it up. And what theme should the paintings be? So that was the one that won, which was this one. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy that image, and I'm gonna just save in Paint and pop it in the brainstorming thing, just so we can see them. Love the site. Thank you, Cloud. Appreciate it. How are you doing, Cloud? It's good to see you. I'm new, so I know exactly. You'll get with it. Doesn't matter if you're new or regular, because I try to make sure I'm considering you all. When it comes to these things, and mention things we've done in the past, and clarify them as much as possible. Okay, so it's pretty easy to just drag images on here. So actual size, here we go. So I'm going to put I've just put C below. And we'll just leave it there. The painting. Depending what fruit was last killed. Now these items, these first ones, I'm gonna just separate this a sec. Just separate them. So I've got the key items together, well, sort of, and then the produce drops, and here's the accessories and things. So So I think we're going to have it so the one that drops is the fruit that was last killed, aren't we? Because that's definitely the easiest way to do it, especially if Lemon is going to be, you know, he's going to KO the party if he's the one you keep alive. But that doesn't that make Lemon's painting irrelevant as well? Or maybe you could do the painting first and then KO the party. Because then you still get the painting drop then. Unless we decide that we want that paint to be completely non-existent and just of the 4 paintings for the other, and then you don't get a painting drop either. If you got if you did the lemon option, that would be even more of a punch in the face with the sometimes life gives you lemon thing. So that's just something to consider if this means that we're not gonna have a painting for Lemon. We got a cross thing or a question mark. I'm gonna put a big question mark over it for now. There we go. Curious what you guys think. You can have Lemon only do the attack when really low, so if you do enough damage you can still beat Lemon on his own and get the painting. Yeah, it's a bit, the second phase is a little bit confusing actually, because the fruits actually come back, they're not actually dead, and they all hide behind the painting. So it's like when you hit them and get them to 0 HP in phase 1, they like sort of escape, I guess, and go off the scene temporarily maybe. That's kind of how I vision it, until there's one left, and then that one fruit left, once that one's hit as well, and down to 0 HP, the painting appears, they paint, and then the other fruits come back and hide behind that painting, and it's like their last attempt of life at that point. They're kind of like being a bit cowardly, I guess. They're hiding behind the painting, and they don't actually do anything, I don't think. They might do ranged attacks. I've got to see what's possible in the engine, because this is a pretty ambitious battle sort of action sequence, really. And he can do the painting as Squeeze Lemon, a dried up, wrinkled version of his usual sprite. Squeeze Lemon. I want to know what that would look like, a dried up, wrinkled version of his usual sprite. I'm thinking of that now. If that's what happens, if we do that, if we design their sprites a little bit differently for the second phase, make them look a bit bruised and battered. So yeah, we haven't talked much about phase 2 yet at all. So it's definitely an interesting one, but I could imagine there was discussion earlier on in the stream as well about something Van said. I did save it somewhere actually about whoever the characters are at the time should say something if you choose the route to kill them and question you, then give you a second chance to change your mind, but you can still choose to kill them, but the hero will know that his team has opinions about what he did. Yeah, well, the hero, you're the one that gets the choice, but I suppose it's only Rose and Carol are around right now. But even I do believe, even though it's just Rose and Carol, that could affect your relationship with them as well. The choice that's something to add there to the list actually. So not just the Lakefall NPCs would respond differently, but Carol and Rose too could feel differently towards you based on what choice you picked. I think that's what you meant, wasn't it, Van? Because I can see there being a bit of dialogue in this sequence, but I'm not really picturing what it would be yet. But it could kind of make sense to have dialogue if we're going to have this impactful sort of choice to kind of make us feel for the fruits, like one last attempt of like, do you really want to do this? Do you want to kill us? And having them look a bit bruised and battered and that behind the painting and that kind of make you like, oh, what we're going to do. Yeah. But yeah, good. That was a good point. I had to read it a second time to fully understand it. But then I thought, yeah, that for sure Carol and Rose would also feel different. It's not just the Lakefall NPCs that potentially would, it's Carol and Rose, because they were there, they were present at the time after all, so they saw it happen. The Lakefall NPCs are only going to hear what's happened, they're going to hear the gossip when we return to the village, and of course Fiona Bookington and Nigel will have something to say, I'm sure. Then there's rumours of Fiona Bookington, the quest giver, the person that actually gave us the quest. There's rumours that she is in league with the fruits. But there's a lot of potential character development to still do to develop that. And what actually was going on with those guys. And I think we probably won't find out until we go back to Lakefall about what is going on there. So she and her brother are definitely two of the NPCs that could also act differently towards you as well, based on which route you went for. And he looked like a dried up SpongeBob. Yeah, so who likes the idea of that, like when we get to phase 2 of the fight, having the fruits look a little bit different, look a little bit battered and stuff. Extra sympathy. Maybe Blueberry's birthday hat could be a little bit, a little bit torn. Bless him. But I'm trying to think visually how phase 2 is gonna look, because I'm no denying it's going to be ambitious to pull off. Next week's streams are going to be about that, I think we're going to put a lot of time into making sure phase 2, and not just phase 2 but phase 1 of the battle as well, are very smooth and are working well, and we've got them there. I think I'd like to tie that up next week, because this week has been more about the more narrative side of things and finishing the cutscene. But it's nice to get this sort of talk over and done with, because then it makes the mechanical side of doing the boss fight more interesting when you've actually planned it and know all this stuff that we've been talking about today. I think it would be a great idea. Yeah, I think so too. So we can always expand on what we've got here. So when the last fruit gets to 0 HP, phase 2 is triggered. So yeah, phase 1's pretty simple, guys. I think we sort of get how that's gone. Rose and the hero in the battle. You're fighting these guys. They're in these positions right here. You hit them one at a time. Well, you can choose exactly who you hit first. You've got the choice. The goal is to just get all their HP down to 0. So when the last fruit does get to 0 HP, that's when phase 2 is triggered. The plan is for the painting, a big canvas that's quite large enough for all the fruits to hide behind, to plop down on the battlefield, like an animation of that. The fruit that's last alive will face the painting. He'll get his brush out, and it won't be blank anymore. Once he gets his brush out and puts the splatter on it, the painting will transform into one of these, depending on, I think we decided we're going to still have lemons painting, aren't we? Depending on what fruit it is, the painting will... Also, these look a little bit messy, by the way, because they were done in rush. We were rushing to get them done for the poll, so they're not the most tidy at the moment, but I'll spend a bit more time getting those these badass ladies looking good on the canvas when I polish it. So yeah, those paintings there are actually what we're referring to when we say powerful indestructible beings. These are the ones they intend to bring alive and conquer Lake for. That's kind of what I suppose is going on anyway. That was their goal, but they needed Rose's blood to achieve it properly, to bring them to life. So right now they're not alive. They're just boring standard non-living paintings, and you'll get one as a key item at the end of the battle, whatever one happened to be the one that's there. And I think it'd be a kind of nice touch for that painting to come in at some point later in the game. It might not even be early on, it might be much later. Meet an NPC that wants to buy it off you or something, or finds value in it. Maybe, who knows, you go to an art gallery or go to an auction and it becomes useful for you at some point. Could make it easy, like you're saying with Blueberry. Tussle his hat of Plum's monocle, drag on the floor. Erase a bite-shaped portion from apple and squish poor tomato. Those are really good visuals, National. I'm gonna get them put in my notepad. Oh my goodness. So we've had some really cool ideas, guys. We had the live give the Lemons note thing, and the fact that Lemon's going to be a massive troll if you choose to keep him alive. And I love that idea. I love the idea of making them look different in phase 2 and a little bit beaten up, just for that extra sympathy. I love the idea of loads of cool ideas. I think it's been a really cool stream so far. We're not even anywhere close to finishing yet because there's more to talk about. So but yeah, I kind of wanted to just switch to talking about phase 2 a bit, just so we're reminded of what happens a bit. So we're going to just expand on this a bit. So a painting, a canvas falls on the battlefield, and the last fruit alive paints on the canvas. All the fruits reappear and hide behind the huge painting. Okay, so yeah, I imagine that they would have gone off the screen as they got killed in phase 1, but then they come back on and hide behind the painting, maybe pile on top of one another. and peek their heads from behind the canvas. That's kind of the visual I imagine, like them sort of half peeking out and sort of piled on top of each other, because the canvas itself is quite long but not very wide, so it would be hard to have them not piled on top of each other and pull that off visually. So that's kind of what I'm imagining. But next week's streams will be really working on the assets for that and making sure it's all looking good and stuff. Top Bra, thank you so much for that raid. How are you doing? It's good to see you. And hi Seabass as well. How are you doing? Don't mind me, just here lurking and admiring your passion and drive. Happy game driven. Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate the kind words, Seabass, and thank you for hanging out and lurking. And let's give a shout out to Top Bra as well. How is your stream? How are things going on your end? Hope everything's going well for you. Thank you for deciding to stop by here and bring everyone over. How are you guys doing? And yeah, make sure you guys are following Top Bra, because he recently released a game on stream, folks. So make sure to check it out. It looks really cool, super professional and polished, and I hope that's all going well. Okay, so the fruits here appear and hide behind the huge painting. Yeah, so they've got to sort of be peeking out but hiding, and they're, at this point I'm imagining the fruits are all injured. And it makes sense that they'd be injured because they've been reduced to 1 HP. They're like almost dead at this point. So the fruits are injured and look bruised and battered. And I copied and pasted National Mars's description, so I've got some visually to sort of imagine when we start doing those assets. And at this point I suppose they're just scared. They're being cowards now. I think it just, yeah. So we'll think more about narratively how the fruits are feeling at this point, and any dialogue that happens more on Friday's stream. I think we'll think about the dialogue then, because we haven't had an opportunity to think about any dialogue pop-ups and things like that today. But I think there's an opportunity to do that on Friday. And the painting should look different based on what last fruit was killed. Yeah, so yeah, obviously the painting can't be alive, and I'm very glad that poll won, because it wouldn't have made sense with the story for it to be alive at this point, considering they don't have Rose's blood. Unless they stole it in the battle, of course, we would have had to have made it work that way, but we don't. It's not like that anyway, so no worries. So he says it takes several hits to kill that. So yeah, so it's looking like with phase 2, you've got to hit the painting. That's what you're attacking, because obviously you can't hit the fruits because they're hiding. But the fruits might do ranged attacks at you from behind the paint. They could like flick their paintbrushes and splatter you. But it's not really, I can't imagine it really being much of a challenge phase 2 in terms of difficulty. It's more than sort of narrative sort of that phase of the fight. It's the storytelling time. We're kind of seeing the end of the fruits, and it's leading up to this choice at the end of the battle at this point. That's kind of what the purpose of phase 2 is, not really to be hard or anything like that. Phase 1 is the challenging part, and I think there's still a lot of balancing to do with phase 1. I've been doing a little bit of balancing off stream, not properly because I'm working more on the cutscene at the moment and also doing the battle animations and finishing them off. But it is extremely hard, and part of me's thinking we might need to cut some of the skills, because at the moment they've got 3 skills each, a lot of them have, and it could be too much, just too much skills happening. And I might temporarily remove some of those skills, not like I won't delete them altogether, because we might decide we want to bring them back. But for the first playable build, I'll probably keep it simple and just give them 1 or 2 skills as a starting point. And if we decide we want to add more skills just to make the battle a bit more complex, then we can always do that in the future playable builds of episode 1 to like refine the battle if we want to do that. But it's probably easier to start simple, so I might, like I say, not delete them, but just temporarily remove those skills. But we'll think about that more when we do the balancing again next week, as we work on polishing the battle. But yeah, so now there's a little bit more probably to talk about, so I'm gonna get my notes back up, because there was Chub Cheeks' idea about the paints and paintbrushes to talk about as well. I'm trying to think, was there anything else as well? Let me have a look. But yeah, we know that we're going to get accessories and stuff from the fruits, but we don't know what their use is yet. We'll think about that more when we have like an item stream and stuff. But we'll make sure they're cool items for sure, because we want to make it tempting to kill them so we can have this loot. I mean, the player doesn't know at the time that they're going to get this loot. They won't know until they've killed them, but they might reload the game if they want, or if they read a guide, they'll know then. Okay, so I mean, who knows? I mean, we have here as a choice to con letting them live, like a bad point about letting them live. We have the risk of Lakefall being conquered, but who knows? Apple might have made them redeem themselves for all we know. And maybe Apple and his plan to build a portal is what they end up doing rather than conquering Lakefall. It all depends. I think what the future of those fruits, if you do let them live, it is all dependent on other things that will happen in the game in episode 1 that will affect whether they conquer Lakefall or create the portal. So who knows? There's a chance that the fruit could redeem themselves. So I'm going to put that there as well for a pro for choice 2, because it kind of evens it out a little bit. No guilty conscience, and also the chance gives the fruits a chance to redeem themselves and do good. I mean, there's the risk that they won't redeem themselves, but there's also, you know, opportunity to redeem themselves. All very, very interesting. So right, so let's get what Chub Cheeks mentioned several streams ago. This was, I'm going to get up the asset that's relevant so we can just have a little chat about this bit. But it's linked to the loot of the paint and paintbrushes, because of course if you do kill them, they'll be leaving behind their paintbrushes and palettes, and it allows for an interesting opportunity having those paints and paintbrushes does. And I'll explain what that is in a sec. So I'm getting Photoshop up. Also, I might need to go get my chocolate in a bit, because I have some at the other side of the room, and I'm peckish. Okay, so I need to remember where I put this asset. Should be in the characters section. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so if you have been following the story, you might be aware that Rose is in the middle of painting for Carol the Barrel to let her know who took her family, who stole her fellow Barrel family during the wagon kidnapping scene. Because Rose was a witness when Carol's family got kidnapped, so Rose knows stuff. The only problem is Rose is a mute. She can't speak normal human words. She's like a wild beast. So she can't literally tell Carol what she witnessed. So therefore, the opportunity to do it on a painting is there because they happen to just come across this easel, this canvas in the middle of the overlook. Because it's the fruits canvas, of course, they're painters, and of course Carol's like, yeah, you do it. And we don't see this happen until after killing the boss, by the way. I think before the fruits interrupt them, Rose has only painted like up to about here. Like we can barely tell what it is at this point, but eventually, of course, when the battle's finished, Rose will get to finish the painting, and it'll be of a reptile, because that is the one that took the family. So the reptile, it's going to be the way that we bring them into the story, the main plot, because at this point the reptiles haven't made any appearance yet whatsoever. So this will be the first time that we learn about them. And we'll be introduced to the rivalry between them and the humans as well. And it'll lead to going in the cave for the third main quest of the game. It'll lead to the second dungeon. Because the cave is where the reptiles are living now. They have to live in the horrible place, the smelly caves. So yeah, as you can see, it's red. The reason it's red is because Rose, if you kill the fruits, there won't be any paints. So Rose only has her own blood to paint with, and that's why it's red. But if you don't let the fruits live, and if you kill them, you'll get all these colourful palettes. All these colourful paintbrushes and palettes you see, it means that we can paint a reptile with colour. And that's a big deal because it's going to potentially affect so many things in the next quest in terms of recognising the reptile and knowing who it is, having a clearer idea of who the reptile is. True Baldy, oh my goodness, thank you for the 7 months. I appreciate that. Let's have some hype in chat for that. How are you doing, True Baldy? It's lovely to see you. How are things going for you? 7 months, my goodness. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you for the hype, National. Thank you very much. True Baldy, how are you? Tell us how you're doing. I'm good. How are you? I'm doing decently. I'm hungry though. I want chocolate. Want my chocolate. I'm going to get some in a minute. So, yeah. So, Chubb's idea was, I'm going to read it out. Chub Cheek said a while ago when we were doing this painting, an idea came to mind. If you choose to kill the fruit, maybe she has more colours to work with for the painting. Makes sense. Obviously, the paints and palettes are a drop from killing them. It's a key item. it would require more work, but it would make the lizard more identifiable, and it would cause more changes down the line. Like if Carol sees any lizard, she would get suspicious if they were the one that took her family. But if she knows the colour of the reptile, she will know that that specific reptile wasn't the one and wouldn't be as aggressive in her manner. So if you kill the fruit, you get the name of the bad guy earlier, or solve the mystery of who this bad guy is earlier than if you let them live. But you wouldn't know that at the time of choice. But by learning this bad guy earlier, you don't get the fruit side quest later you have mentioned. So it gives both choices some benefit. So yeah, there's a benefit for killing them. It'll, sort of make the next quest a little bit smoother potentially. I mean, will it make it smoother? I don't know. It could also go wrong. You never know. But we'll know the colour of the reptile if Rose has all the paintbrushes and palettes, basically. So, because he's probably not a red reptile, really. He's only red because Rose has already got the red palette to work with. So who knows what colour he is? He might be... What we'll probably do, we'll decide what colour he should be, and we'll just give him a little bit more detail to his features, his eyes colour, his spike colour, and that will just be more, it will be more clear, and it just makes it set in stone, his identity a bit more. So when we go find the reptiles in the cave and go on the hunt for them, when we finally come across them, we'll know exactly the one that it was. Whereas this one here, it could be any reptile, any random reptile. Obviously, he'd have to have the spikes in that position, because some reptiles have different spike patterns. But there could be like several reptiles with that spike pattern, and you know we wouldn't know. But obviously, we'd know it if Rose painted with all the colours, and it would make Carol's behaviour different. As Chubb mentioned, it would affect how Carol approaches the situation too, because she's going to be a lot less hostile, and a lot less like. She's going to be more sure, Carol is. She knows who the reptile is. She's not going to go falsely accusing reptiles that she shouldn't be accusing, and causing unnecessary conflict with reptiles that weren't even involved. So it kind of might benefit the being friends and civil with reptile sort of path of the story more as well, if you decide to kill the fruits. And what if there were a magical in the easel, or the canvas is the fruit juice, and in the alternate where Rose paints with her blood, the painting talks? And what would it say, National? Would it reveal secrets? I mean, it's definitely very intriguing. I think the whole fact that the theme of a painting that comes to life has been sort of suggested, because that's the fruit's motivation, isn't it, to bring paintings to life. It kind of leaves that whole thing very much a possibility. And even if it wasn't something that happened now, if we felt it was a bit too much too soon to bring in such a thing into the story so early on, it's definitely something in the future that could happen with paintings. I mean, I don't know if paintings are going to be a recurring theme. I mean, the fact that it's Rose's only way of communicating with us makes it could be a consistent thing with Rose's character arc, painting for the party to communicate. Who knows? And you know, there's an opportunity to have that sort of thing happen. But mean things, nothing helpful. Yeah. Like Cryptid says, something small to allude to the invasion, or about the past in Lakefall. Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna meet the reptile anyway, I mean, yeah, that's the concept, isn't it? If, say, what did come to life, Do you mean the reptile physically came to life? Would it actually be him and the reptile himself speaking, or would it just be some other conscience, a separate conscience from the reptile that it's the pain of? That's the interesting concept of that. It's intriguing. The fact is, we're going to beat him eventually anyway, and he'd tell us stuff anyway. And that mystery of finding out information and dragging it on a bit is also appealing, because it gives us something to potentially like get excited about for when we do find the reptile. And if he talks straight away, then that mystery of finding him is kind of defeated, because we've got him right here as a talking painting, and then there wouldn't kind of be a purpose to go to the caves and seek him. If that were the case, but it's still a very interesting concept. And the ladies, the badass ladies painting, you know, who knows, there's an appealing thought about that coming to life, if there's a way to sort of make it make sense. But it's there. The idea and the concept of living paintings has been planted into the story. So it only makes sense to have it as a thing eventually, even if it's not quite yet. Because as I says, I'm a big fan of every line of dialogue having a purpose and a point. And being like a foreshadowing something to come. I'm a big fan of that kind of thing. So, yeah, I'm going to copy and paste what you say, National. Because even if, like, we think, yeah, it might not work for this particular scene because it defeats the purpose of finding the reptile in the cave, it could work great for something else in another painting. It could be perfect for something else. And it could say, the blood is right, but the spell has yet to be cast. Will you have me sit here until my paint dries and the window closes on this opportunity? Yeah, let's copy and paste that. Yeah, so the thing is, like, so far what we know about bringing paintings to life, from what the fruits have told us, Rose has to be sacrificed. It's even Apple, who was the good guy, the nicest of the fruits, even he himself admitted that was the only way. Let's get the dialogue up. There was a particular line of dialogue that was quite interesting, and they tried to like poke at it a bit more, and Carol was like, can't you just use some of the blood? Does she really have to be sacrificed? Can't you just use some? And Apple was like, no, she has to be. So let's find that line. Yeah, so Apple's like, I would rather not sacrifice anybody. That includes the vampire. That vampire speak of a special blood. It's the final ingredient we need to bring both our masterpieces to life, yours and ours. You know it won't work without her sacrifice. So yeah, it's a thing. It's she has to be dead to bring her to life. So even if it's not Rose, say if we do decide to go with the living painting concept, even if it's not now, even if it's in the future, even if it's not Rose that gets sacrificed, some vampire would have to be sacrificed, even if it's a vampire that isn't Rose, even if it's just some random other vampire that's an NPC in the game. That could be somebody else. Yeah, they could get sacrificed to pull this off perhaps, but that's kind of like what is the key rule, because we kind of would have a plot hole if it came to life, I suppose, and it would make the fruits look like massive liars. And yeah, they are villains, so that wouldn't be completely unbelievable that they would have lied and just wanted to kill someone just for the sake of killing, but it kind of makes them a bit less credible, I guess. And it's kind of like cool that there's villains that actually have a motive to do it without being just evil for the sake of being evil. But yeah, so yeah, that's the thing. It takes a vampire sacrifice. And the reason why is because they need a lot of the blood, enough of the blood for the vampire to actually be dead. It would kill a vampire the amount of blood that they need. They can't just have a small amount. So yeah, but I do like, I'm a fan of the concept of bringing a pain to life for sure, and I'd like to introduce it at some point if we can have a way for it to make sense and fit, you know. And do you know Jenny from The Chase? No, I don't. Chihuahua Goose. I like your name, by the way. I'll call you Goose because I can pronounce that animal name a lot more easily. Welcome. I hope you're having a good day. Okay, but you guys have said some really super interesting things this stream, and I hope I've made a note of them all. If not, I'm going to run through the VOD again later and make sure I've grabbed it all. But yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else in particular that's important to discuss. So the cutscene with the reptile painting, I honestly imagined it not lasting very long. And I think it ultimately has to lead to going back to Lakefall to hand in the quest to Fiona. That is what it's going to be leading to. So getting this painting of the reptile, it kind of brings the opportunity to ask the NPCs what they know about the reptiles, and then it gives the opportunity for their history, for us to learn the history of the reptiles and the humans and the conflict and the war between them. Because as soon as we go back to Lightfall and we start showing NPCs this paint and like, do you know this reptile? They'll react and they'll be like, oh, reptiles, and it'll all be like slowly revealed to us. That's kind of the way I imagined it going anyway, for us to like go on this mystery detective hunt for this reptile and seek him out, and it would like sort of just give us a purpose for actually going in the cave and bring the reptiles into the story. And yeah, we can hand the quest into Fiona at the same time then. Oh, the basket, there's a key. Oh yeah, we really forgot about that, didn't we? Ooh. Now, the question is, would the basket be there if they were left alive? Would they have ran alone without the basket? Or would they have taken the basket with them? Because we had a little talk about this, didn't we? And said that the basket probably belonged to either Fiona or Nigel. And we said it'd be even cooler if it was Nigel's basket, because it's a bit of a twist. You would expect it to be the girl's basket, but no, it's the man's basket. And you guys had some really cool ideas about Nigel and how he was getting bullied by the fruits, and there's this like sort of history between them us as the player aren't aware of at this point, because we haven't talked to Nigel much. We haven't even really talked to Fiona that much, but this is all stuff that could come out once we go back to Lakefall. And yeah, we could find out more about what went on. do they take it with them if they live, like their little car or a boat? They could just ride the river in there. Yeah, they could like sort of treat it like a boat. Because let's face it, let's think the perspective of a bunch of fruits here. If we were fruits, guys, and we were about to die, some horrible humans were about to kill us, and we're all bruised and battered, and they finally decide to just let us go. They have mercy on us and they let us go. What are we going to do? We're not going to get very far if we just hop in, are we? We're not going to get far at all if we're all hurt and injured. So, yeah, we would go in our basket and go in a river and just go along with that river and just relax and heal up. That's what we'd do, isn't it? You're right, National. So I could definitely picture that working, because we are Lake Fall, Everbloom Forest. We have a river around us, so the setting makes sense for them to use it as a bite. You know, part of me would love to make a scene of that in the future. Who knows, a flashback scene if we ever met the fruits again would be telling us their story of how they escaped, even if we only showed it for like 2 seconds and there's a little flashback. But still, it's a cool vision in seeing them in a river. So yeah, if they lived, the basket would no longer be there because they'd have took it with them. It's their method of transport. But if they are killed, then we'd get it. Now, I guess it's thinking of what use it could be, and I guess if it's Fiona or Nigel's and we gave it to them once we get back to Lakefall, that could be a very revealing moment potentially, and we would find out more about their history at that point, because something has to provoke us learning about the history of the fruits and the Buckingtons. But if we gave the basket, it could start up some dialogue and an interaction that wouldn't have happened if we didn't have the basket. So I'm also going to make a note of, I'm gonna copy and paste in a notepad file, because I don't think there's room on here or a point to put it. But I'm copying and pasting the notes about them using the basket as the boat. So this needs saving again. The neighbour next door is blooming doing construction again. He never stops. Okie doke. Okay, so I think we've really covered everything when it comes to the outcomes, the pros and cons from the choices at this point, and we've covered the items that you'd get if you did kill them, and so I think we've covered all that. And I did talk about the Chub Cheeks idea with the painting colours, so that's been mentioned too. But there's other stuff like, well, there's obviously things like thinking about what these items could do, but it's probably wiser to save that for the item stream. And the other thing is any dialogue pop-ups or like what the fruits could say in the battle potentially. Now, like I said, it's possible it's definitely possible because I've coded it in a way where these fruits can say different lines of dialogue depending on if you kill them first, second, third, fourth or fifth. And I don't know what they'd say, but something like as they're escaping off the field, because when they've been reduced to 0 HP, I imagine them like doing that and then being off the field, each one at a time. They'll be bruised and battered because you'd have hurt them a lot, and the asset would change to a bruised and battered one, and they'd just like go off the screen. And then when Apple's left and you've done it to him, the painting will plop down. Apple will turn around. Is there a mirror thing we can do? A flip thing? Flip horizontal. Yeah, so Apple will turn around like this. Just imagine the paintings there. He'll like paint on the canvas, and the canvas will turn to the green one if it was Apple that you kept. And then, oops, that's fine. And then once that's happened, all the fruits come back, obviously with their beaten and battered assets. They're like getting to a position where they're all on top of each other. I might have to do a separate asset for that, like with the canvas. Have to see how that's going to work. It's an ambitious one, but interesting. But I imagine them being all behind the canvas, and then Apple will join them as well, and then phase 2 will begin. And you, as the party, hit the canvas until that goes to 0 HP, and then you get the dialogue, but the choice in battle: kill or let live. But it would be boring if there was no dialogue while that was all happening, right? Like, I feel like this battle could suit having dialogue pop-ups during certain moments, rather than it be 0 dialogue and then just the choice at the end. Because there's been so much banter throughout that scene before the fight that it'd be fun to carry that on in the battle somewhat. So yeah, I could imagine, I'm not sure what dialogue would be there just yet. I'm a bit blank on what they'd say. But, you know, something punny and cheeky and fitting with their personality. You know, I think I got a notepad file. Let me find it actually. Hi Rex, how you doing? How you doing, Carla Sampson? Lots of good stuff. Yay, what's your favourite thing that we've decided, Van? And this question goes to any of you. Is there anything in particular that we've discussed today that's made you super excited, that you think's a really good, like, way to, good direction? Because I'm intrigued, because it's always good to know what you guys find most exciting as well about the things that we do. But yeah, I just literally, let me get it up. Is it here? Don't think it's showing up. Oh, here it is. Ooh, no, not that. Here. Oh, not that one. That's my notes that I was making. It's the wrong files appearing. Damn it. Here it is. To get this up to show you all instead. So this is just what I did. It's just an example. Don't know if it's big enough. But I was doing the different variables and the scripting, but it's very easy to just like think of a line of dialogue they could each say that's different depending on their order they're killed. I think that could make the battle seem more dynamic and interesting, and a bit more lively and very suited for the personality of the fruits. But I can't think of any dialogue right now, so that could be something we revisit later. But yay, we've got quite a lot of cool information I've decided today, guys, so GG. Lots of good stuff in that camp. I can't wait to see it all done for this battle. I know, and it's ambitious. Phase 2 especially, pulling off the animations of when the canvas comes down, physically, like just showing an animation of the fruit that's on the scene, painting the canvas, and then the fruit's hiding behind the paint. That's all. I'm not sure how like advanced RPG Maker is when it comes to pulling off this stuff, but I always find a way around things, and I did it with the hijacking cutscene with on the wagon with the barrels, so I can do it with this one too. The most exciting thing is my character coming soon, hopefully. Smugface, I know, right? Because we've been talking about the reptiles today and how they will become part of the story soon. It's definitely been one of the goals to get the reptiles and their conflict with the humans introduced as early as possible in episode 1. And I thought it was so cool to have the reptiles living in that cave under Everbloom Forest, well, directly under Lakefall. It's so cool how that cave is literally right under the graves. There's a really cool idea that me and Van thought of for that, or Van, should I say, sent me a message about it, and I was like, holy butts, we're doing that. So we're gonna, things like that will probably be put into the lore Bible eventually, because there's a lot of things that aren't really relevant about that to talk about just yet, but there's some really cool ideas that tie into the whole Raindrop plot. So I'm excited. But as for the reptiles, yeah, the thing is, we have 2 antagonist reptiles, don't we? We have Rexes and we have Chubcheekses. Now, just because those 2 reptiles are 2 antagonists that are of the same race doesn't mean they have the same goals and they have anything at all to do with each other. And I think that's one thing that we got to realise, that Chubcheeks' arc is separate from Rex's character's arc. Chubcheeks is very heavily involved in the Carol kidnapping plot. The reptile that we have on this painting here, the one that Rose paints at the end of this scene, this is a reptile that presumably works under Chubcheeks. He's one of Chubcheeks' minions. If Chubcheeks is the antagonist that was behind the whole Everbloom Forest spell, and you know, it's very likely that this is the guy that's working for him, because he would have been the one kidnapping the barrels. But Rex's character is like nothing to do with the kidnapping. He's like got a completely separate goal and motivation. From what I've gathered about Rex's character and looking at his character sheet, he's very protective of his beast races. He cares about the reptiles and hates humans because of what they've done to the reptiles. And Rex's character is very key with the whole conflict of human and reptiles that's happening in Lakefall right now. And it's all gonna like slowly come out, all these facts, when we talk to the NPCs in Lakefall in the next part of the story. So yeah, they're separate characters. Chubcheeks is definitely more antagonist, someone that we're seeking to evolve the next part of the story and to find Carol's family, whereas Rex's is more of a side thing, where it's all about are you gonna sympathise with the humans or sympathise with the reptiles? Because I'm very, very attached to the idea of, you know, having the reptiles potentially live in Lakefall at the end of episode 1 if you sympathise with them over the humans more. Or if you like the humans, The reptiles wouldn't be living at Lakefall and you'd have killed them, and you side with the humans. But nothing's black and white. You might like some humans and hate some humans in Lakefall, and you might love some reptiles and hate some other reptiles. Nothing's black and white with things like that. And hi, Eusebius, how are you doing? Hope you're having a good morning. Kill them for good, kill them for awesome. Yeah, you're going to be one killing them then, by the sounds of it. You've made your mind up. And I argue that Rex is his best, no reason. Reptiles deserve respect. Yeah, it's all about perspective. Some players will all be for humans, because, you know. But my job, and well, our job, is to show that the world isn't black and white when it comes to races. There's no really such thing as evil races, and that the reptiles are no different to the humans, really. The only difference is the way they've, there's no difference. There isn't no difference. They just despise each other for no reason, in all honesty. But yeah, there's talk that the reptiles were the original people that inhabited Lakefall back in the day, decades before. It was their home originally, which makes sense because Lakefall's a very secluded, out of the way area in the world. It's not a big city, it's not even a big town, it's very, very private and very, very humble. So it would have made sense that a race like reptiles, an oppressed race like the reptiles, would have made a home somewhere like that. But the humans are greedy. They wanted the land for themselves. They thought, yeah, let us have this place, and conquered it, and now the current inhabitants of the village and in the present day. And it doesn't really make sense for humans to be living there, because humans don't need to be away from anybody. Yeah, humans are very widely accepted in the world, and there's they're the race that aren't oppressed at all in the slightest, so they could go wherever they want. Why did they choose the nice peaceful isolated forest village? Why did they take that from the reptiles? And that sort of story, I mean, it's very undeveloped right now. These are just early ideas, but that sort of thing kind of would make you realize the reptiles aren't just these people who want to kill people for the sake of it. You could actually feel bad for them, because that was their home, and they had no right to have it taken away from them, and now they're living in the cave. So and there's no reptile towns where humans are not welcome. There's no reptile towns where well, there's a history there, I'm sure, and the reptiles, I'd say their hatred towards the humans is because they've just not treated them well. It's as simple as that. They're not treating them the same as them or giving them the respect that they deserve. So there's a lot of hostility there because of that reason. But I'm back now. My lunch didn't go as expected, laughing my ass off. Oh no, I hope it was okay though. Well, welcome back. Well, humans are disgusting, so who cares? Rex is in roleplay mode. He's full on reptile self. Okay, so but yeah, there's a lot of opportunity to really develop that history and that conflict between reptiles and humans more. How I just described it is just a very basic summary of how it could have gone. But yes, right now the humans are all living in Lakefall, the village, and the reptiles have been forced to just be in this dirty, grotty cave, and they're probably not living a luxury life in that cave at all. But there's an opportunity to turn the tables, I think, in this episode, depending on where your allegiances lie. What's the word? Yeah, so, it's interesting. I think we'll explore that more in Main Quest 3 when we start the new content next month. But yeah, for the next couple of weeks, it's going to be getting this battle perfected, getting it as awesome as possible. Yeah, that's really the main thing. It's a lot of that sort of stuff. But I'm glad that we've had the chance to really explore more of the story side of things as well this week. And guys, that meeting the fruits cutscene will be put in the Discord on Friday, all going well. That's kind of the aim. So trying to think of what we can do now, because I think we've really discussed everything now, the main things anyway. So what did you decide on when it comes to the fruits? Oh, it's all on here. We got all the notes here. So it's all about really the consequences of the boss fight. This brainstorm is like the cons and the pros of whatever choice you make at the end of the fight between killing them or letting them live, because there's pros and cons for both, and the job was to make it as balanced as possible so that one choice wasn't too easy to make over the other. Both of them have their pros and both of them have their cons. The good thing about killing them is that you get a ton of loot, potentially some really cool loot, and there's a lot of question marks over what that loot's going to do right now, but it's going to be cool. We'll make it cool. Kind of want to be inspired by the way D&D does stuff with items. So not just items and accessories that benefit you in the battlefield, but items and accessories that benefit you in the field as well. And what you can do in quests and towns and NPCs and things like that. And then there's key items and there's crafting items as well. So yeah, you get the loot from choice 1. You also save Lakefall from being conquered, because that was what the fruits were trying to do. But yeah, you risk, yeah, there's risks and potential risks with each. It's all listed here. And these are the different things that could happen based on what choice you picked as well. So things like your moral points being affected, things like how your party members and other NPCs will treat you from that point on and react to you because of the choice you made. Achievements would be different. And there's also a chance for the fruits to come back as a summon as well, depending on what you did, perhaps. But that is all very much stuff to be fleshed out in the future. But it's nice to contemplate it and think, oh, that's an idea. But then we put it to the back of our minds to not think of too much until we actually introduce that to the game. But for now let's get back on what we're doing right now, which is phase 2. So I personally would like to get the hard stuff out of the way first with this battle. There's a lot of balancing and animation work to finish with phase 1 of the fight, but I kind of really am tempted to get the hard part of phase 2 sorted, which is this whole animation sequence that is described here. The canvas falling on the battlefield and the painting and them hiding behind it. So we have the canvas. Let's get up the canvas in paint actually. So I think that is in one of the folders, but I'm not sure which one to find it. Here it is. So this is the canvas that's going to appear in the battle. Let me find it. Yeah, here. Silly grid always pops up every time. I got rid of that once, and now it's back again. Okay, so that's the blank canvas. And this is a canvas as it starts getting painted. But we'll just use the blank canvas first. Summon would be cool. I may have /Rex too hard. Phoenix down. No. Yeah, so there's a few ideas. Like the obvious one was, oh, if you keep them alive, they'll come back as a summon, or one of them could come back as a summon. But then chat had a really cool idea that if you killed the fruits, they could still come back as a summon, but in a different way with the necromancer class. They would bring them to life in that kind of way. We don't have a necromancer in the game yet, but if we did, it could be cool, and it's an interesting way to take a necromancer skill, and it's like a nice call out to a character that was in the game early on, and he'd be like, oh look, it's the fruit's back. And you know, that might be a way later episode, but it's still something that I think it's a nice touch, that sort of thing, to have the summons in our game be a reference to characters that we've met throughout our journeys, rather than just a random fire god or something. That makes no sense. And do we know this particular reptile, the one with the spikes on his forehead? Oh, the one on this painting here, National. This is a nameless character currently. The idea was that he was going to be one of Chub Cheeks' minions, who like is working for him to kidnap the barrels. So you know the scene when Rose jumps on the cart, the wagon, and bites somebody, the one who's riding it, the hijacker. That's him. That's who it was. So he's not a character that we've made so far. He's not a community character, and he's not any NPC that we've made at all, but he's someone that we're creating together and introducing into the story because of plot reasons. So Rose fought him and he lived. He must be skilled. Yeah, so Rose took a big chunk out of him, that's for sure, because he screamed. I found like a scream sound effect. And so he definitely was hurt, but not enough for him to kill him. So he just got a bit of a vampire bite on him, and we don't know what happened after that. It's all a big mystery, but all we know is that the wagon rode away and was gone. And then Rose was back one day. So Carol's like, well, what happened? And there's who knows what could have happened. The events are still yet to be decided. We don't know if Rose even met the barrels. We don't know if she got a chance to see them at all. It's all a big mystery. We only know that she saw this guy because he was the one that she bit, who was the hijacker in the wagon. So he's definitely an associate of Chub Cheeks's, because Chub is the one who's really involved in this kidnapping plot, let's remember. Whether Rex's character knows him, we don't know. Chances are this guy is lurking in the cave somewhere with Rex's character, and they might. Of course, they're both reptiles, so they probably know each other if they're both living in the cave. But like I said, Rex's like loyalties and motivations and goals are very separate from Chub Cheeks' goals. Rex probably wouldn't give a crap about the barrels, you know, and kidnapping them, because he's not motivated by money like Chub Cheeks' character. Chub Cheeks wants to be rich. That's why he's using the raindrops and the barrels for not so ethical purposes, because he has a money-driven motivation. But Rex's character is more about sort of protecting his fellow beast men, making sure that the humans don't cross him, and will make sure that if any human was to cross him and his fellow beast, then that they would get what's coming to them. But he's definitely not driven by money. He's just driven by loyalty and looking after his beastmen. So for sure, Rex's character is going to be an optional playable party member as well, guys, which I haven't really discussed much, but I have mentioned it, as a cleric. So If you decide to sympathise with the beast race on this journey, with the choices you make, there's a chance that he will be a playable character later on in the game. We don't know when he'd join. It might be in the future, but it might be soon. We don't know at this point, but the arc will take you to that point eventually, with him joining as an optional playable character. But of course, not everybody will get him join as an optional playable character. For some players, he will be a true antagonist. Because you would have done things that he would have perceived as going against his fellow beastmen, and he will be your enemy, and that will be that. But there's, of course, it's always nice to have that branch where you've actually sympathised with the reptiles and you've seen that their cause makes sense and isn't all bad. It's very, very understandable. And if you decide to go that route, then yeah, the option's there. And let's catch up with Chow. But with Chubcheeks' character, it's definitely not as sympathetic, because Carol's it's Carol's family at the end of the day, and they're doing really bad stuff with those barrels, and it's definitely not sympathetic in the case of what he's doing. But just because one reptile's doing something bad doesn't mean they all deserve the hate, you know. And I think it just shows that, you know, it just shows that not every... It's nice to just show that just because there's one evil one doesn't mean that they're all evil. And even if some are evil, which they are if they kill people and want a race completely ruined and destructed, you know, having their motivations and why they want to do that be understandable is very important as well. So let's catch up with chat. Must be skill. Maybe injured now as well. Could he be missing his whole arm? Interesting point, National. So when we meet this guy, he could be armless. Maybe we meet him in the caves at some point and we see him. We seek him out and it's there and he ain't got an arm. And it's a mystery to us at first why he's not got an arm, but yeah, it's because Rose bit it off. And that would kind of link the whole, you know, it would clear things up a bit more, and I think it could definitely make things interesting. So I'm going to make a note of that one as well, National. Thank you. It's a cool idea. On skills, can a passive skill be programmed to gradually increase in battle per turn and set a mask on the skill? What do you mean by gradually increase in battle per turn? Like stat-wise? Like, you mean if it was like strength, would it gradually increase? So I can't answer that because I'm very amateur when it comes to what I can do in the battle system right now, and I'm kind of learning as I go. So I'm very, very unsure myself with the answer to these. So if you guys are doing your skills for your class, kind of be open-minded about it if you can, because we don't know what's possible yet. So I'd say get a sort of idea in mind, Ray, of a skill you'd like, but with the opportunity for it to be flexible if necessary. But yeah, just write them down and we sort of deal with that when it comes. And is he or other reptiles looking for Rose then while we're looking for him? Yeah, because they've got their motivations too. I mean, like we said, there's a lot of gaps to fill in. We don't know what happened between the end of that flashback to the present day. There's a lot of missing gaps story-wise, but they for sure, we want these NPCs fleshed out as well after all, so it's a very good point to consider what their motivations are and what are they after Rose. I mean, they'll know she escaped after all. She's gone, she's with us now, so maybe they're looking for her too, and when they see us they're like, there she is. You never know, that could totally make sense, and that would give them a purpose to want to have a fight with us. And yeah, and how would we handle that situation if we want to be reptile sympathizers. I mean, if they're coming at us all aggressive because of Rose, then, well, we got to be careful, because we might cross Rex's character if we hurt him. And like, after 5 turns, the skill doesn't get any stronger. Yeah, I've no clue. Just realise that I'm a massive noob at the battle system stuff. It's 100% my... It's very, very out of my comfort zone. So I'm going to be learning as I go, for sure. And a lot of the time when I do these skills myself, I don't even know myself if they're going to work. Like, literally no idea. And I just have to kind of go on the RPG Maker forums and ask other people, or just work out myself how to put it together. But I never know immediately if something's going to work or not. It's only after a few hours of figuring it out whether I know whether it will or not. Ooh, nearly 1,000. And they might not need to. Honestly, they've got the containers and their plans are probably coming together, minus the old man barrel. Hank! Yeah, it's interesting how Hank's going to work here, because the fact is Hank is utterly useless with a hole in him. So what they do with him is going to be interesting, for sure. But there's definitely opportunities to explore that when it comes to the point where we have a scene where we see how the barrels are being dealt with, because there will definitely be a time that comes. But this whole Carol the Barrel arc with finding her family is kind of the main quest, as we know, and a lot of it will be very stretched out throughout the whole game. So we don't really know how much of that is going to be figured out in episode 1. When it comes to the whole Raindrops plot, some of that might not be discovered until a little later. But it all depends what this guy tells us. Once we find him in the cave, he might open his mouth and reveal all. But he might also not. It all depends how quickly us, as the writers of this story, want stuff to be revealed, how quickly we want to get this lore shown to the player about the raindrops and the whole horrible plot of using the barrels to sort of become rich. Because all this, we don't know it, do we? Right? Yeah, we're not going to know it until it's been told to us in the game. I mean, we know as the writers, but as the players, we're not meant to know yet. And okay, well, also something is possible. I could look into getting someone to make a plugin for it. Yeah, I mean, that is fantastic. But yeah, don't get too caught up in it just yet, because it's very, very early days. But the fact that it's an idea for when the time comes is wonderful. And if you've got your heart set on a skill, then yeah, but just try and be flexible just in case. But yes. And this guy goes renegade, separates himself from his employer to go and do his own thing. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, and that's the thing, the reptiles themselves are individual people. And it's where do their loyalties lie as well? And just because one reptile's been a complete and utter asshole doesn't mean they're all like that. So I think that's definitely Chub Cheeks' character is kind of the one who is the bad because of what he's up to. But these other reptiles could be absolute sweethearts. And also this guy goes renegade and separates himself. I wouldn't say they're sweethearts, that's been a little bit too kind. I mean, some definitely could be. There could be some real innocent reptiles that are involved in all this and have just unfortunately been judged by humans wrongly. But I'd say a lot of them are quite grey with their morals, perhaps. Oversure, I'll look into backup skills. This one won't be flexible, but if it can't work, I'm okay with coming up with something else. Awesome. So yes, if we meet him, he could totally betray Chub Cheeks and end up on our side, especially if we've been nice to the reptiles. maybe he'd give us more info. But if we aren't nice to the reptiles, we could even end up killing this guy ourselves, and then we won't get the information. It's going to be interesting to see where main quest 3 goes, but I imagine all this that we've been talking about with the caves and the reptiles and finding this guy, I can see it kind of going into main quest 4 as well, because the cave is going to be a whole new dungeon, and a portion of main quest 3 is going to be in Lakefall as well. And yeah, so interesting. And how many quests episode 1 have is probably not going to be too many. I can't see us having more than 5 main quests in episode 1. And once we've finished once we've finished up episode 1, we'll be moving to the next region, because I kind of imagine it as Everbloom Forest is episode 1, next region episode 2, so a region per episode sort of thing. But there'll be a ton of side quests in Lakefall and Everbloom. It's not going to be just the main quest. We're going to have an opportunity to explore lore and other people's stories and bring in some other really cool themes in side quests, like Stumpy. And do we know if he's nice or mean? Like, to him, he was just literally grabbing a cart of magical objects, not even real people. Yeah, we don't even know what he's being told by Chub Cheeks and his uppers. You know, we don't know. Like, we know that Chub Cheeks knows that those barrels are alive. Like, he knows the full story and he knows exactly what he's doing, but he might have not told that information to this guy here. Like, he for all he knew, he was just taking a wagon with non-real objects on it. You know, he might not know the full details of what's been happening at all. He could be just a poor man who got, I mean, he's not all innocent. He should have said no to the job, to be honest, but hijacking's bad whatsoever. He did kill a man. He killed the original wagon driver, but he might not be like, he might not know the ins and outs of it all. Or did he recognise they were actually living people? Thinking it, he really did he did. He was bad for doing that, for sure. But I think that's where grey morality comes in, isn't it? Like, sometimes people have murdered to do things because they've got paid to do it and that, but they're not as evil as you think and stuff. Like, nothing's black and white. Maybe he's got his own story that makes him sympathetic. He could be like, I needed to pay for my family because, you know, we're living in poverty here, and what can I do? This guy offered me a ton of money to hijack that wagon, so I did it. We're starving here. Like, you know, something like that could make you think, well, yeah, he's kind of in desperate situation here. This cave is horrible living conditions, and he might have like could be a baby reptile or something, just for extra, to make you actually feel a bit bad. And then you're like, yeah, he just wanted to feed his baby, so he just was desperate. And he remembers living in Lakefall, and it's not the first time someone's bit him. Yeah. And yeah, it's interesting, the timeline of Lakefall. Like, some of the older reptiles would probably remember. It depends how many years ago it was when they lived in Lakefall, I guess. I mean, the timeline could be either 100 years, 50 years, or 20 years, or even, it can be whatever we want it to be. But I think, yeah, that's the point. It would be interesting if some of the reptiles still alive were there and remember living there themselves, if it was more of a recent event in history. But it would really turn things around, wouldn't it, if these reptiles in the cave that we meet in the next quest, if they're living in Lakefall at the end and the humans in Lakefall now are miserable in the caves. Like Fiona Buckington and Nigel, they're living in the caves. I'm laughing because there's some irony, but yeah, it's interesting because some of the NPCs in Lightfall we might actually really like, and I think that's what I want to do to make it even more of a difficult choice, because it's not like all the NPCs in Nightfall are going to be annoying or horrible humans. Some of them might be really likeable. And then that just makes it the whole, well, who am I going to sympathise with, humans or reptiles? It just makes it even more tough. Because there's nice people in both races, is the fact. And there's not so nice people in both races as well. So, yeah. It's interesting, but I think that's what episode 1's going to come down to. It's going to, the whole reptile and human versus thing is a big theme, overarching theme of episode 1, and the Carol the Barrel finding her family story is what's happening ongoing. It started in episode 1 and we've been told about it, but that's carrying on throughout the whole game, the whole saga, throughout all the episodes, whereas episode 1 is dealing with the reptile and human thing, and episode 2, you know, it'll be a new thing entirely. We'll be in a new region, meeting new NPCs, and they'll be dealing with their own stuff, and there'll be opportunity to do other things then, while finding out more about the Carol the Barrel mystery. So it's cool to have that structure. I think you got to have a structure there, I guess, because then it just ends up chaos. But yeah, so where were we now? It's been cool to like just talk about some of that story stuff, because it gets us excited about what's to come. But yeah, so canvas. So, yeah, we are nearing the end of the stream, and I'm trying to think what I'll be doing between now and Friday. Finishing that cutscene with the fruits, because I really want to show you guys it. So it'll just be the scene that's before the battle. That's what will get done by Friday. And then there's still the scene to do after the battle, which we'll start that scene once we finish the boss fight. And we're happy with the boss fight. I think that will be a good point then. But yeah, next week's goal is going to really be getting this boss fight finished and tidied up. So I'm going to just have a little look at some of the assets that we've got here, just to see what we can do and if this is going to work. So let's just get to Marsho as an example. So he's a bit of a big boy here. I don't think he's as big as that in the battle. I think he's a lot smaller than that. Maybe that. I don't know if he's that small actually, but he's definitely not that big because I've tested it. I think something like that's more like it. So what I'm thinking is, because we're going to be doing other assets for their beaten up version, aren't we? So he's not going to look as fearsome as this. He's also a little bit pixelated because I've enlarged him, so just ignore that. But he's going to be battered. I mean, let's think of how this is going to work. I imagine, let's get them all out. Because when we're doing the bit when they're hiding behind the painting, I'm probably going to have to make that all one asset, rather, because it's probably going to be very hard to pull off having them as individual assets on the battlefield, you know, when we're doing this sort of layout. So things like the shadow, and they'll have to be, of course, removed. But yeah, it looks like I'll be making an asset of it. Them, one big giant asset of them behind the painting is probably the easiest way to approach it anyway. I'm just going to do this roughly for now, because this is just an experiment to see if this is going to look good. So something like this is kind of what I'm imagining. I don't know what order they'll be on top of each other, but also the painting, of course, will be coloured in depending on the fruit that was last on the field. So it's blank at the moment, but that's just for now. Yeah, they'll fit. I think all 5 look like they're going to fit. But I want to make sure. But we'll make it fit even if they don't, because the canvas is very easily resizable anyway. There's a plugin that I've got that lets you have it whatever you want. But it looks like it's fine, and they'll all be able to be stacked on top of each other. Of course, I'll be removing the shadows, and we'll be using their beaten up assets. So for example, Blueberry's birthday hat on, it makes sense for Blueberry to be the one at the top, really, doesn't it? But the one at the top is probably the one that you keep alive, in all honesty, because all the others would have been already piled on top of each other. So say if it's Apple that you kept alive last and he's done the painting, he would have he'd turn around, do the painting, be there, and then he'd hop somehow we'll pull this off. It'll on top of the Blueberry, but we'll have seen Blueberry's hat be a bit beaten up and floppy before, and of course when he was still on the scene as well. So that's something like that. I could imagine it being like them all peeking their heads, because that way they're hiding behind the canvas, you know, which was our original vision. And I suppose if we're going to have ranged attacks, then we just kind of show the splatter coming off them and it'll hit us. But they could all do the ranged attacks, really. I mean, even the melee ones, Plum and Lemon were melee, but they just flick their brushes just like Plum does. And that's precious. I know, they look cute. I mean, this is a very rough example of the sort of thing we're going for. It's going to be very much, I'm going to be tidying up. There'll be no shadows when in the real thing, and they're a bit pixelated here as well because they've been resized funny. But it'll be looking really cute when we get it looking as it should. But yeah, it does look cute. And when seeing them like that all on top of each other and all battered up and stuff, it's so like going to be playing at your emotions to keep them alive, isn't it? There's such excellent surprise. They look good to have your position like that. How you got it looks great. Yeah, it's the way that makes sense in my mind to do it, because the canvas being so long and not very wide, it would have been hard to pull it off any other way. Like if we had them just like that, it's not as cute, is it, when they're hiding that way? You know, having them peeking their faces out is just the way to do it, isn't it, guys? And we can have dialogue and stuff as this fight's happening. I mean, I want to consider that on Friday's stream, because between now and next week, I want to experiment with how I can pull this animation off. It's going to take a bit of time to see how I can get it working, so I don't think I'll be ready to do the battle stuff, the technical side of the battle stuff on Friday, where we actually test it, because I'll still be experimenting. But we can always discuss what sort of dialogue they'll be saying in the fight, because I think having dialogue in the fight will just make that choice more, you know, it'll make the choice more. Can't think of the word to explain it, but if it was a dialogue-less fight, no dialogue, it wouldn't be as emotionally impactful as if there was. So just thinking, all the options of where to take this. It's fun. But thanks for hanging out and talking, guys. I've had so much fun today. We've had some really interesting things brought up. I love the brainstorming streams because there's things I'd have never thought of ever, like the lemon note thing was a genius, for example. And it's like, yeah, super exciting. I had fun too. Wonderful stream. Thank you, Rex. Thanks for hanging out. I bet you're very happy that the reptiles are going to be making an appearance. I definitely imagine Rex's character being in the cave. Because, of course, all the reptiles are in there. Apart from Chub Cheeks, maybe, because Chub Cheeks' character's a bigger part of the Carol plot, so I doubt he'd show his face in there too soon. He's probably up to his no good tricks somewhere in another part of the world right now. Because I think it'd be too premature right now in Main Quest 3 to meet Chub Cheeks soon, but yeah, we could find out info maybe in Main Quest 3 about the plans. A bit more of the plot could slowly be revealed, because that's kind of how I see the Carol kidnapping and the barrel arc. Information gets slowly trickled to us as we go through the quest, rather than just lump it all on us in one go. So guys, are we gonna drop us? I am gonna see if anyone is on. It's a quieter day today. Yeah, I'm going to just head off today, I think. Just have a quick one, because I am very hungry and I feel like I need a snack. So I'm going to head off, and I'll see you guys on Friday's stream. Chub Cheeks is awesome. The reptiles in general are great. They're great characters. And I think it was great to talk about the fact that, you know, they're separate, Chub and Rex's characters. One is kind of a big bad villain. Chub Cheeks is big bad antagonist. The other one's a bit more grey in morality, but still questionable, but chance of redemption. So it's like, yes, it's an interesting one. Very interesting to make races a little bit more complex, with rather than them all just being evil and all big bad reptiles. There's definitely a lot of conflicting morals between them, just as there is for humans. So yay, thank you for hanging out, guys. Super good stream. See you all on Friday. Have an awesome one. Bye Van, bye Radu, bye National, bye Rex. Thanks guys for being awesome.